dramatization.
After a car wreck, you may have to fight with a highly trained insurance company rep whose job is to knock your damaged claim down and out. It's a bad idea to enter the ring alone against a trained boxer, and it could be a bad idea to fight against a big insurance company by yourself. When the bell rings, attorney Dennis Sperling will be there to fight for your rights. If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck, call me, attorney Dennis Sperling, at 866-529-2444. That's 866-529-2444.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I am back again to have a very interesting discussion.
They're not the thugs. The real thugs, they're kind of quiet. The ones that act tough like that, their mama raised them. They probably still live at home with their mama. Some of them still pee in the bed. That jail time they did, that wasn't for a felony, a hard crime. That was because they didn't pay their child support and they got traffic tickets. And they just went to jail. So look, and here's the thing, a lot of these fake thugs are being exposed. You guys are not that tough. You know, and when I get a guy like these multimillionaire guys, and you guys are basketball players, football players too, you running around here talking tough, you got tattoos all up your neck. You know, man, you just making all black men look bad. You're making it bad for all of us.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
She gonna try to hit it. You see what I'm saying? And he's making over six figures a year. She's gonna work it. You see what I'm saying? If he had just contacted me about a month or two earlier, we could have set it up. But she already had that plan in place. I don't think they understand, Mr. Palmer, that they underestimate the cunning of these women. They confuse the beauty and the guilt trip. They think what's wrong with him, man? Why can't I?
Here's the thing. The worst thing that we as men ever did was underestimate them. You cannot even a baby mama tell you can't underestimate them because they got exit plans years in advance.
Yeah.
And when it comes to going to court, it's like I heard you say, no mercy, no pity. You cannot put your feelings in the midst of that. Well, that's my baby mama, and we got years, and that's my son's mama. No mercy, no pity. Like I said yesterday, if she on life support, you take your child and file for emergency custody.
My name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in an accident, call me, and I'll fight for you. I'm not an actor or a celebrity spokesperson. I'm a real trial lawyer, and I'll appear before real judges and real juries on behalf of people with serious injuries. So when I say I'll fight for you, I mean it, and I'll back it up. If you've been hurt in an automobile or 18-wheeler accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444, and I'll fight for your rights.
Without further ado, here's the thing. Dr. Umar Johnson is a brilliant man and has finally come to, and he, like many of us, have finally come to the conclusion that most black men who have separated from the black community have figured out that it is black. What they figured out is that it's the treatment that they received while they were under the authority of the black community that triggered and caused for them to want to move. The problem is he has hope that the conflict can be resolved. I don't. I will tell you why. First of all, black boys don't like their black moms. And it's not that they don't love their moms. You can love someone and not like their behavior. I don't have any doubt that you black men love your mom. I know you love your mom. You just don't like some of the things you saw growing up. And that's why you don't like your mom. You love her, but you don't like her. That's pretty much, that's the quagmire that many brothers in. The lovely ladies are not following the lead of black men. They're following the lead of the dominant society, a society that seeks to destroy black men and black women and the black family, which is the cornerstone of black society. And that's why we are where we are.
The black manosphere is taking steps forward. We are not only setting a precedent for what should be the relationship discussions between black folks, but now we're in a situation where, you know, the gate is wide open and you got gatekeepers who are trying to keep this thing under wraps. Because see what happens if the political gatekeepers can no longer sway the Black population to do what they want to do, then they become irrelevant. They're no longer useful. They get eliminated. You know, they go home, they get a free bus ride back to the house, and party's over. And so, you know, it's incumbent upon them to make sure that Black folks still remain beholden to one party group or another. Now,
was the least of the bad. Don't forget the 91, the 87, the 81, the 79, and the 77. That 81 is the one that said one rock gets you 5 years in a federal penitentiary. And don't forget, one of the adjuncts to that was they ended federal probation and parole for adults. And what happens is that if you get a 5-year sentence, that's 60 months, and you wind up being in federal custody under their control for 56 to 58 of those 60 months. They need to do something to keep these constituencies active supporters. We get nothing. We're just in this habit of plantation mentality. That's our team, so we have to vote that way.
So are you saying, so is Judge Brown saying that some Black people or all Black people or enough Black people should begin to vote for the mean old nasty Republican Party?
Well, here's what I'm saying. Here's how it works. Every now and then, if you aren't getting anything, even if you have to hold your nose, vote for the opposition, because it can't get any worse than it is now.
Yeah.
So vote for the opposition, so the people that have been counting on you go, oh, wait a minute, we got to bring them back. And
I share your opinion.
says, wow, look what we got. We need to give them something to bring more of them over. And what you need to do is become independent.
Right.
And vote issues and candidates, not parties.
You know, Judge, I share your opinion that Joe Biden is a racist, and it's because of his history of voting. Now, a lot of people say, well, Trump's a racist. I said, well, yeah, he might be, but Joe Biden ain't no better. So I'm going to vote for the person who has my interest in heart, and not because, and I'm not just totally aligned with one party or another. I think, is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I will scream and I will holler. Then I'll scream and holler some more, saying absolutely nothing.
You have a choice in legal representation. And in making that choice, do you want an attorney with a made-for-TV nickname to represent you in your serious car wreck claim?
I will growl, kick, and scream.
My name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444. The choice is yours. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Dennis Sperling. I'm not a lawyer, but my daddy is. Yeah, if you've been hurt in a car accident, then call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, no. My daddy will fight for your rights. Yeah, fight for your rights. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, returning Dennis Sperling.
Hello, I'm attorney Dennis Sperling. You've been injured in a car wreck? Call me, 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy, daddy.
And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, a very interesting subject. It's befitting the fact that this is Sunday, the holy day for most people here in the United States, where they attend church or mosque or synagogue, or some other holy place. And what I would like for you guys to do is recognize that these ancient writings, these scriptures that are some over 2,000 years old, are ancient man's explanation of life. They are how they began to explain life away so that they could begin to make sense out of it. It was our first books on philosophy, technology, science. This is the way ancient man tried to explain the circumstances under which he was living, which he didn't have a lot of answers for. So when people say stuff like, oh, well, you know, the Bible is this, the Bible is that, what I want you to do, fellas, is I want you to look at it, sterilize it, throw out all the mysticism, throw out all those things, look at it for what's being said, compare it to your modern day, and what you will find is many of the things that these great scholars, these great men from the past were saying can really help you. Now, I don't care what your denomination is. I don't really care. To me, it's a literature that should be analyzed. And I'm the type of person this, if I see the crowd going left, I'm going to go right. If I see the crowd going north, I'm going to head south. And what we have these days are a lot of people saying, oh, throw the Bible away, give it a, you know, that's outdated, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. I don't believe that. I believe these are very powerful writings. I believe there's a lot of knowledge in that. And, you know, we, as one of our great scholars, African scholars said, Dr. John Henry Clark said, don't throw the Bible out. Okay, so that said, you know I'm in the manosphere now. I got a lot of guys from all over the world who listen to me of all ethnicities, religions, some non-religious, atheists. All of you guys are listening to me. And so what I want to do is invite you to let's take a red pill analysis of some of the female characters in the Holy Bible. And so basically, we're going to talk about women in the Holy Bible from a red pill perspective, specifically Lilith, who is technically only in the Bible once, but not in her capacity that I'm going to discuss. Eve, who was Adam's wife, Jezebel, and Salome, who was also another famous woman often overlooked. And what we're going to do is try to figure out these women's characteristics and apply them today. Here's the thing. As a man, I do my very best to educate my sons on things, educate them on things early that I didn't learn until very late in life. And had I known the stuff at 6 and 16 that I know that I learned at 36 and 46, I will be far ahead of where I am. Oddly enough, when I wrote my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World, hard copies are available. If you want a copy, send me an email. Those of you who read my books, basically, you see where I go through the Bible meticulously. And I use my own situation and my own circumstances, and I will find what? Guidance in the Holy Bible where there is something so very similar to what I went through. The different rules to live by that I call them are simply universal principles that apply then and apply now. And so what I'm trying to tell you is in that 7-8 year journey where I was writing and rewriting the Holy Script, writing my books, Rules to Live By, volumes 1 through 3, what I discovered was, oh my God, this is something that is common. This is part of the human existence. This is not something new. I'm not the only one that has experienced all these different things. My God, why didn't someone tell me? Why didn't some preacher or biblical theologian or professor tell me that this has already happened? As King Solomon says, there's nothing new under the sun. And so, but nobody bothered to tell me. And so what I'm trying to tell you guys is we're going to go through a journey today. And I may open your eyes to certain things. And I'm not trying to bash anybody's religion or anything like that. And that's not what we're doing here. We're simply for those Christians, for those Muslims, for those people who are of the faith, or people who are non-denominational, you men specifically. I want you to take a look at these stories in the Holy Bible. And let's look at them through a red pill lens. Now, there's so many other characters. And yeah, I know there are men we can talk about, but the characteristics of men are often analyzed, triple analyzed. They got words for it. But what we never do is we still haven't wrapped our head around the fact that women are human beings. They are as flawed as men are. We have not got to that point yet. And so because of that, what we need to do is we need to recognize that women are human beings, and then we can start treating them as equals. You see, as opposed to putting them up on pedestals, as opposed to treating them like they're divine creatures. This is not something that we should do, because that in itself is blasphemy. We should put no one before God, including women. But we've been taught in this matriarchal society that women are divine. In the Black community here in the United States, women are often referred to as goddesses, queens, which is in itself blasphemy. But nevertheless, let's begin. Lilith. Any of you all who've ever heard the story of Lilith, go ahead and hit the 1 button, all right? Lilith allegedly was the first wife of Adam. You all know Adam. Adam is the first man on the planet. He and his what we were told, his wife, Eve, were in the Garden of Eden. Now, here's the thing. She is supposedly the woman that Adam was created along with, and she decided that she didn't want to be with Adam. She basically thought she was equal to Adam. And so it says, and I'm going to go by, in the book of Adam and Eve, or in the Zohar, Leviticus 19:8, a hot, fiery female who first cohabitated with man. And this is right here in Wikipedia under Lilith. And so, she's allegedly Adam's first wife. Now, there's a lot here you can read, and it goes like this in some Jewish folklore. For you all who don't recognize Judaism, or Jesus was what we would call a Hebrew man. He was a Jewish man. That's the modern term. That is what gave rise to Christianity. So Hebrew or Jewish, or the Jewish religion, predates Christianity. So when I hear something say, "Oh, this is from the Jewish era," okay, this is from me. Let me take a look at this. If I'm going to be a good Christian, I should want to know. So here's the thing: in some Jewish folklore, such as the Satiric alphabet of Sirach, from 780 AD to 1000, Lilith appears as Adam's first wife, who was created at the same time and from the same clay as Adam. Compare this to Genesis 1:27. This contrasts with Eve, who was created from one of Adam's ribs. See that in Genesis 2:22. The legend of Lilith developed extensively during the Middle Ages in the tradition of Haggadah, the Zohar, and the Jewish mysticism. For example, in the 13th century writings of Isaac ben Jacob HaKohen, Lilith left Adam after she refused to become subservient to him, and then would return to the Garden of Eden after she had coupled with the archangel Samuel. Interpretations of Lilith found in later Jewish materials are plentiful, but little information has survived relating to the Syrian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian view of this class of woman. While researchers almost universally agree that the connection exists, recent scholarship has disputed the relevance of two sources previously used to connect the Jewish Lilith to the Akkadian. And so there's some more information here, but the meat of it is this. Lilith was basically a woman who says she refused to become subservient to Adam and did not return to the Garden of Eden until after she had coupled with the archangel Samuel. Now, if you guys know that sort of coupling between earthly women and angels, the Bible talks about that later on, and what was created was basically some monstrous looking beasts. So if we want to do a modern association between Lilith and modern women, you could even say feminist scholars appreciate Lilith for her independence, her rebelliousness, and her assertiveness, right? One story says that she was Adam's first wife. As I said, she didn't come from his rib like Eve, and there was a biblical revelation. If you look at the Bible in the first chapter of Genesis, it says God created male and female. He created them as if though they were both created at the same time. That was the verse that I think is 1:27 in Genesis. She was made at the same time he was, and they fought all the time. Doesn't this sound familiar? Over the stuff like sex positions. Supposedly she wanted some on top action. Sick of being subservient, she left him And even though she was ordered back to the Garden of Eden by God, she refused. And while she was away, she might have slept with an archangel. So what I'm telling you guys is, this to me is a modern day feminist philosophy. Okay, she was what? She was independent. She felt she was equal to man. She felt she was equal to Adam. She didn't want to follow her role as a helpmate. Even fought with him over the sex positions that they should take. Can you imagine being Adam, the only man in existence at the time, and you got to fight with your woman, right? You see that? She refused to be subservient. How can a woman like this be a helpmate? And we see it played out in the world that we live in today, right? So if we have to give Eve, if we look at her through a red pill lens, she's strong, independent, and don't need a man, right? She's rebellious, she's overly assertive and domineering. Does that sound familiar? Do we recognize these, using our red pill lens, what do we recognize these women as? We see them, we see it all the time, right? This woman, if you run across a woman who is strong, independent, rebellious, overly assertive, and domineering, the first man under as far as theology is concerned, the first man couldn't deal with a woman like that. What makes you think you can, right? So had I known this back then, when I was a young man at 6 and 16, or somebody started planting these seeds in my mind at a young man, then what? Then I would have known to avoid women like this. I would have known to have accept that this is how she is. I can't change her behavior. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Shout out to the lead attorney. I honestly don't know much about the Bible, but I salute you, Uncle D. I love how you're getting such important information out to help our young men. Thank you so much, lead attorney, man. And hey, man, come talk to us on our show sometime. I love having my young and not just young, but my professional brothers come and speak, because it's one thing for me to say how well my Black brothers are doing. It's another thing to have attorneys like yourself and professionals and stockbrokers and doctors come in and talk, because they get to see you, they get to hear you, and then they can embody themselves. They embody themselves in you, brother. So, I want to definitely invite you in anytime if you just want to talk about your area of practice of law, and we can just ask you some questions, and so they can get to know you and how you got to where you are. It'd be great to have you. So thank you very much, lead attorney. And those of you all who appreciate what I'm doing here, please contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App. I appreciate that, because I take a lot of time and do a lot of research. I am not a Bible thumper. I'm not a theologian. I'm simply looking at the script. I'm simply looking at the text. I'm simply looking at it and analyzing and comparing it under a red pill lens, as we call it. Really, it's just the lens of truth, and comparing and contrast what we have then, or what they were talking about then in the Holy Bible, and what they're talking about now. And to me, Lilith looks like the modern day feminist. So you all, please just take a look at that when you have a chance. Now, next up, and we're going to go kind of quick because we're just going over these things, all right? So that's the story of Lilith, basically, and that's from Jewish folklore. I think there may be one reference of Lilith in the Holy Bible. I'd have to check. All you got to do is just type in Lilith, Holy Bible, and you might see a reference somewhere. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find something. And I know that, let's see, in the Hebrew Bible, it says, and that's called the Torah. Lilith appears, Hebrew text. I'm looking. You guys are gonna have to do this on your own. But the Latin Bible, I'm looking at different versions, English versions. I'm looking. You guys are gonna have to find it, but that's where that comes from. So just take a look at it. Analyze it for yourself. But what ancient man was talking about is happening right now. And so if you run across a woman who's strong, independent, rebellious, overly assertive, or domineering, she has that Lilith quality. Let me tell you something also that you got to understand about ancient man. If you had some sort of psychological issue, if you were what we would call manic depressant, schizophrenic, bipolar, they wouldn't call it a psychological issue. They would say you were possessed by some sort of demon. because that's what they had to reference it by. They wouldn't refer to you as somebody who needed a prescription. They would say, you gotta be like, you gotta be possessed by you need to exorcise these demons. They wouldn't send you to a psychologist. And so in reference to Lilith, they would say she was a certain class of demons. Really, she was just a strong-headed, independent, rebellious, overly assertive woman who had basically too much to say in a world where those who didn't help fall in and fit into a certain category, they wouldn't survive the winter. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, look what she did. She went out and slept with and had sex with one of the absolutely worst people she could have sex with at the time. Don't we know people like that all the time? Don't we know ladies who do that, fellas? So, and they refer to them as the Nephilim. Thank you, Charles Faulkner. I appreciate that. When an earthly woman slept with an archangel, they refer to them as Nephilim. Either way, it's non-human, and it's bad for society as a whole. This is the class. This is the Lilith. Okay, whether you call it a demon or a psychosis or whatever, ancient man referred to as demons. We call it some sort of issue, right? However it came, she thought she was equal to man. She didn't want to fall in line. She didn't want to be a helpmate. She even disobeyed what God's order was for her. That's that Lilith. Okay, fellas, think about that. Next up, the story that we are all familiar with, the story of Eve. Now, for those of you who aren't quite familiar, but I'm sure everybody is, Eve was a woman who, after some time, Adam had been in the Garden of Eden doing what God said he wanted him to do. God gave him a commandment, go out and subdue the earth, give all the names to all the creatures in the planet. God gave him a charge. Adam was doing what God said do, right? Now, God saw that all the animals had a mate, but Adam didn't have a mate. So what did he do? He said, look, Adam, I'm going to give you a mate for whatever reason, because Adam was lonely. And men need to be with you. You need a couple. We're social people. We're a social species. We should not be alone our entire life. You can't reproduce without a woman. You see what I'm saying? So he needed a woman. This is what God ordained in this Bible, and that's normal. It's nothing wrong with that. Set everything else aside, all the modern day, the laws, the family law. I get that. I understand that. That still doesn't stop the fact that you need a mate. You need someone to reproduce with. It's good to have company, period. Bottom line. Let's just leave it at that. For the purposes of this conversation, God said you needed a woman. And so Adam was put in, I guess, something similar to a coma. If you want to use modern terminology, an operation took place, a rib was removed. Maybe God used some ancient, techniques and created DNA and created a woman from his rib. Okay, got it, right? So Adam was created from Eve was created from God's rib. What does that mean? Symbolically speaking, what does a rib do? A rib protects what? A rib protects your vital organs. A rib what? Gives you structure. It protects your sides. It's there to keep you standing up. If you look at some of the ancient Egyptian statues of pharaohs, there's this one in particular that shows a man and a woman, Pharaoh, and the woman is standing just behind the man. And if I can pull it up, I will. And she basically has her hand around his waist, protecting his rib, but she's one step behind him. You see? And it's just a very interesting, when you look at the symbolism of it, it basically said the woman is there to help not only protect the man, but keep him standing up, keep him guided. It's just a beautiful thing. You see what I mean? When man and woman are working together in unison. So Eve's job was to do that, basically to be a helpmate, to help Adam get his work done, to help Adam stand, to help Adam move forward. He was there. The purpose was God had given Adam a job, and all Eve had to do was what? Just help him do that. She was a helpmate. She stood a little bit behind him. So any shots that came his way, she was the one that absorbed those shots. He was the one that absorbed those shots, not her. And I'm looking for the actual video, photo that I recall, and some of you may be familiar. It was two pharaohs. One is standing next to each other. One is the male. One is the female. The male is out front a little bit. The woman of Pharaoh is right behind him a little bit. This is a ruling class, and you know, it's just a very telling story. So bottom line is, the role that Eve was supposed to play was what? To be the helpmeet, to be supportive. But what did Eve do? Adam was off working one day, right? And what did Eve do? She ignored God's statement to leave this fruit alone in paradise. You can have all this. She went to this one tree, the tree of knowledge. She was what? What happened to her? A snake got in her ear. A serpent got into her ear. The devil got into her ear. And then what happened? He convinced her to what? Partake in the fruit of knowledge, partake in the tree of knowledge. She bit the fruit. And not only did she bite the fruit and became poisoned with its knowledge, but then she also did what? She convinced Adam to also bite the fruit. So she was led astray by this serpent who got in her ear. And then she convinced her husband, and then he was led astray. So what does that tell you? Don't we know women like that? They listen to everything else. They listen to housewives of Atlanta. They listen to their friends. They listen to neighbors. They listen to their coworkers. And then they come into the house with that poison, and they spread that poison to not only to their husbands, but to their families, to their children. You see, what sort of woman is that? Well, Eve is clearly a disobedient woman, because what? She didn't listen to God. She didn't do what was in the best interest of her family. She's naive because she fell for that snake. She's vain because she thought she knew more than God. She thought she knew more than her husband. She's clearly narcissistic because what? She wants all of this knowledge that this fruit that she wants. How the idea that she would want, the devil told her what? The devil told her, yeah, you can have the knowledge of God. You can have the knowledge of God if you bite this fruit. Why would you want that knowledge of God? Are you even capable of handling that? How narcissistic and selfish do you have to be? Easily led astray. She allowed another man, a snake, because we're going to change that demon Satan thing to another man. She basically allowed another man, a snake of a man, to get in her ear. He sold her a dream, and it had to be a dream that she wanted. See, a woman, right? They blame the man for telling them lies. Oh, he told me if I stuck with him that he was gonna make me rich and I was gonna have a fur coat for every day of the week and a flashy car and all the women were gonna look up to me. That's a dream that she wanted. All he did was figure out what she wanted and told her that. She was sold that lie. There are plenty of women on Facebook and YouTube and social media. They have snakes. They have these snakes that tell these women, yeah, girl, he should love you how you are. Even if you're 250 pounds and obese, girl, you're beautiful the way you are, girl, black girl magic, girl. What does the Bible say about magic? Think about that. The Bible says that goes against God. So any Christian woman, any Muslim woman, any Hebrew woman, any black woman referring to yourself as having black girl magic, what does that make you? That makes you a woman that goes against God, right? So why did you even refer to something like black? Why would you even refer to that? Why would you even say that's black girl magic? What does that do to you? What demons, as they say in the old days, what kind of demons is that calling to you? Magic? Is that what the Bible says? I don't think so. The Bible doesn't even refer to luck. And it definitely doesn't refer to magic, but that's a conversation for another day. But here's the thing. She is a woman, Eve, who allowed this snake to get into her ear and coerce her and poison her husband, convinced him. And then they both got kicked out of paradise because of the hell and the evil that she repeated and brought into the relationship. How many of you men have had a good woman in a good relationship, and then after a while, after she gets talking to her friends, after she gets to talking to her employees, she's looking at all this soap opera style talk shows and all these and then she brings that poison into your house, and now she's dissatisfied. she's vested with the knowledge of, she's vested with that knowledge of the world. And she comes into your house with that. And now your house is a hellhole. So what was a paradise is now a hell that you're living in. You've been kicked out of the Garden of Eden, because maybe the Garden of Eden is not necessarily a physical place. Maybe the Garden of Eden is the sanctity of your marriage. But they've been kicked out of that paradise place because the woman brought all that evil in. Whether it was from the snake oil salesman who told her that you should accept her how she's are, was she grumpy and mean and out of shape, and you're supposed to accept that, and she can't believe that you're not, because these other people, this snake has convinced her of a dream that she wished she should, that she wants anyway, for her to be able to do anything she wants to do, and you to have to accept it. That's what I'm talking about. That's what happens. So if we have to put some characteristics on Eve, what is she? A disobedient woman. She's naive, vain, narcissistic, easily led astray, allowed another man, a snake, or men or women, allowed another snake, a snake of a man, to get in her ear. He sold her a dream she wanted. She brings other people's input into your marriage. Friends, family, co-workers, celebrities, and exes will destroy that paradise. That's what I see as Eve. That and so I hope that you all are seeing where I'm going here with this. All right. Now we got 2 more left before I open the call lines up. Let's get 112 people in the chat room. We have 57 likes. Get the likes up, y'all. Let's make sure, if you enjoy what I'm doing here, get the likes up. Shout out to Mr. Hay. One day, probably real soon, there's going to be 7 women to 1 man, and it's going to be interesting. What are your thoughts in that, Uncle D? That's something we would have to deal with on another day, brother. We're talking about women of the Holy Bible from a red pill perspective, and we're just going to limit it to Lilith, Eve, Jezebel, and Salome. Let's see. Mr. Hayes, keep speaking the truth. I do the best I can. Charles Faulkner said, woo, they are not ready for Judeo-Christian studies about women. Going to make a lot of Bible thumpers look themselves differently. Here's the thing. There's no preacher who's going to tell you ladies this. And see, it's good that I'm a lawyer, because I'm not beholden to the church. I'm not beholden to anything. I'm only inviting you to take a look at your Holy Scripture and read it for yourself. The truth is, the vast majority of you all have never actually read the Bible. You call yourself Christian, you call yourself Baptist, you call yourself all these different things, but you don't actually read the Bible. You just go to church, you listen to the pastor talk for about 45 minutes, you contribute to the coffers of the church, and then you feel like, okay, I went to church, my sins are clean. You never actually learn what the Bible is saying. You never actually read it for yourself. See, I'm not going to throw out the Bible. I'm going to keep reading the Bible. I'm going to keep learning as much as I can from the Holy Scripture, because there's truth in there. Ancient man was trying to teach us something, and modern man wants to run us away from that. The modern matriarchy wants to run us away from those patriarchal statements, as they call it. So I'm not going to do that. I invite you men to study on your own. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just basically telling you my perspective. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm just a person who can read and write the English language and do research on my own. And that's what I invite you guys to do. So I'm sharing this information with you. Azaria says, so if they aren't going to cooperate with God, Adam and Steph Curry, what chance do we have? Oh, man. So, yeah. Hey, look, that's a great question, right? That's a great question. And so we'll talk about that. Maybe at the end, I'll give you a little dose of it, of what my thoughts are. But it all starts with you being the moral compass of your house. It all starts with you being the man of your house and being the moral authority in your house. That doesn't mean how much money you make. That means you're the moral authority of your house. Maybe we'll get to that later on. So get the likes up. Let's see, Wanda Mandalore. They manipulate the Bible to fit their message. That's exactly right. A lot of preachers, a lot of pastors, a lot of people, they don't want to offend the female section of the congregation, because if they do, they will lose a lot of money. And so because of that, they have to monitor their tone. They can't preach everything that's in the Bible, because if they start preaching the word of Bible as is written, they would have problems. They lose half their congregation. So it's on you as a man, right, to go in there. If you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a Muslim, because I know my Muslim brothers, they review the Bible, they look at the Bible, there are a lot of similarities, you can learn a lot. I've actually read the Quran myself, beautiful book. It's ancient man talking to us, okay? Understand it for what it is. Ancient man is talking to us. It's giving us symbolism. It's giving us lots of different stories. It's telling us stories so that we'll learn. And two of these we didn't interpret correctly. We weren't taught to interpret the stories of Eve. Matter of fact, Lilith, for the most part, was left out of the Bible. But that's okay, because the writings are still there and we can learn. And all that's happening with this whole red pill movement is you men's eyes are open. That sugar and spice and everything nice, that's what little girls are made of. That's what we were brainwashed to believe over the past 40 to 60 years. We weren't told that, man, Eve was a disobedient woman. And here's another thing, fellas. Adam was a simp. I'll say it again. Adam was a simp. And before we move on to Jezebel and Salome, Adam was a simp because, for number one, he didn't check his woman. At the point where she disobeyed God, he should have said, no, you up out of here. Matter of fact, we're done. You know, you specifically were told not to do this and you didn't do it. So instead of being man enough to leave that woman, he went along with her. He was a simp. He was a sucker. He was a white knight, whatever you want to call him. He should have been man enough to say, no, what, we're going to end this relationship right now, wife or not. You're trying to lead me down the path of destruction. I'm done with you. That was it. But he wanted what? Company and companionship so bad. It kept him from doing his work. And here's another thing. He shouldn't have let another man get off into his wife's ear like that. He should have already been filling his wife's mind up with the truth. He should have said, hey, look, I don't care. There's going to be snakes in this garden. There's evil out there. There are people out there. You can't pay attention to what's going on television. You can't do that. The Atlanta housewives don't have nothing on us. That's all fake, baby. That's not real. And all they're going to do is lead you down a path of destruction. All that stuff you see going on with Kim Kardashian and these IG models talking about where they're traveling to and what they're doing. And they got pictures of them and you see them with the background of the oceans and the trees and all that. The dude taking the picture is a sucker for them. They're not telling you all the men that they have to sleep with and what they have to sacrifice to get there. That's all lies, love. That's how that man should have been educating his woman. But he wanted company so bad. He wanted to have this woman. He was so hell-bent on having his woman. What? So Adam also failed his test because he was a simp. You see? That's not an interpretation of the Bible that they would give you. But if you put your red pill lens on and you look at that situation, you can see Adam was a very weak man. He was weak for his woman. And he didn't have to bite that apple. He didn't have to follow that lead. He could have left Eve alone, stayed in the house, stayed in paradise, and either been alone or waited till God sent him a better version of a woman. He had already sent them a feminist. Next thing he sent them a disobedient woman who was naive and narcissistic and self-serving. And so it was on Adam to wait around for another woman, a better version. But he didn't have the patience to do that. And so that's also another lesson that we can learn. And that's something that a lot of people won't tell you see? But I'm not beholden to anybody's church. I'm not beholden. I just look at the Bible for myself. And I invite you men, especially you men who have become distrustful of the modern church, to look at and read it on your own and find other men like yourself and read it on your own. You see, that's what I want you guys to do. Read it. And as a man, you should be the leader of your own household. You should be the moral authority of your own household. And you should be well studied in something like the Holy Bible. If you call yourself a Christian, or if you call yourself a Muslim, or whatever you call yourself, you should be knowledgeable of that and understand it, and also understand and be able to relate those stories to modern times. Okay, because that's when it becomes real, which is what I do in my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. I hope you guys, if you haven't got those books, I really spent a lot of time analyzing the Bible and comparing that with my life and the life of so many others. You can get those books on Amazon, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. And I go through the Bible. I hope you guys read that. That's very good work. I'm not being braggadocious, but here's the thing. The next up, we're going to talk about Jezebel and Salome. Now, before we move forward, I'm going to run a commercial. You guys contribute to the super chat, contribute to the Cash App, all right, and contribute to the PayPal. Let's get some money in that PayPal. I haven't received anything yet, but we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions to keep this thing going. Thanks. The only time Black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So, hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Berlin. I'm not a lawyer, but my daddy is. Yeah. If you've been hurt in a car accident, then call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, no, my daddy will fight for your rights. Yeah, fight for your rights. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, Attorney Dennis Berlin.
Hello, I'm Attorney Dennis Berlin. You've been injured in a car wreck? Call me, 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
All right, we are back, and the next subject we're going to talk about is the Bible character Jezebel. Okay, so Jezebel was a daughter of Ethobal of Tyre, and the wife of Ahab, king of Israel, according to the book of Kings of the Hebrew Bible. 1 Kings 16:31. According to the Bible narrative, Jezebel, along with her husband, instituted the worship of Baal and Asherah on a national scale. In addition, she violently purged the prophets of Yahweh from Israel, damaging the reputation of the Omride dynasty. For these offenses, the Omride dynasty was annihilated, with Jezebel herself suffering the gruesome death of defenestration. Later in the book of Revelation, Jezebel is symbolically associated with false prophets. Let's see here. We got another little backstory here. Jezebel is introduced into the Bible narrative as a Phoenician princess, the daughter of Ethobal, king of Tyre, and you can look at that in 1 Kings 16:31. She says she was Sidonian, which is a biblical term for Phoenicians in general. According to genealogies given in Josephus of the other classical sources, she was the great aunt of Dido, queen of Carthage. And if you guys have ever read the Iliad and the Odyssey, which is Greek mythology, after the fall of Troy, you know, the kings, you got Achilles and all those. After that, that's called the Iliad and the Odyssey. The Iliad is the war. The Odyssey is Odysseus and his trek home. Odysseus actually ended up in Carthage, and he had some sort of, was it Odysseus? No, or was it the founding of Rome? My God. There was another hero who came about, and he ended up having a relationship with Dido. In my Greek mythology, it's been so many years since I read it. I can't believe it. Aeneas was his name. Aeneas ended up having a relationship with Dido, queen of Carthage. And Aeneas, although he liked the woman, he had to get out of there because it was his job to found Rome. So he got out of there. But she was very upset with him. Nevertheless, as the daughter of Ethobal, she was also the sister of Baal-Esther II. Jezebel eventually married King Ahab of Samaria in the northern kingdom of Israel. So here's the thing. We all understand the story of Jezebel, right? And if you don't, I just ask you to just go ahead and read up. I don't have that sort of time to go into the detail. But Jezebel is known as sexually promiscuous and liberated from normal boundaries. She's a loose or immoral woman, strong-headed, deviant, sly, savage, and corrupted. Do we know any women like this with this Jezebel spirit? People often use that term, Jezebel spirit. The modern day associations for her, Jezebel was a term described, that was the modern day association, but these days she's been reclaimed by certain groups of women who try to associate positive sort of. In other words, this is a good thing. She's described as strong, as though she's assertive. That's how they describe it. The Bible portrays Jezebel as a forceful, selfish, savage, corrupt, and manipulative woman. As a queen, she is held responsible for turning her king, children, and locals into heathens by encouraging to worship foreign gods and goddesses, which gets most of them killed. Her story also includes murder. Now, this is the type of woman that many of us deal with on a daily basis. We have seen this type of woman. When you have a woman with that Jezebel spirit, right? She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. But some of the things that she's willing to do sexually, right, they are not the type of women that you want to build a family on. You have a woman who, let's say she's and I don't want to, offend anybody here, but if you have this type of woman, she's corrupt, she's savage, she's willing to do anything. She'll lead you astray, have you worshiping the wrong God. This is a Jezebel woman. This is a Jezebel spirit, and you can tell her when you see her. You see these type of women, right? These are the type of women that we run across all the time. They'll have you worshiping Birkin bag, right? Instead of Jesus or Allah or God. These are the type of women that we're dealing with right now. You see? And so this is not a good thing. And it's not unheard of because clearly this has happened in the past. And she's a loose woman. Loose meaning what? She's gonna be riding the carousel. This is her. What does it do to a woman who's riding the carousel? She's a loose, immoral woman. Immorality. What is morality? Is what's defined in the Bible. Having sex with multiple men and women and whoever else runs across. That's immorality. Different kinds of sex. Willing to do anything, exchanging money for sexual favors. These are Jezebels. This is what our Bible says. This is the interpretation. So what do you do when you're dealing with a woman like that? Well, I don't know, but when you're dealing with a woman like that, she can be what? Selfish, savage. We got women out there saying, I'm a savage. She's telling you what she is. She's telling you, I'm vested with the Jezebel spirit. Now, I use the term spirit, but that's who she is. They tell you, I'm a savage. So when a woman tells you the savage, when a person tells you who they are, you should believe them. Okay? So if you got a woman out there telling you she's a savage, then you're looking at a Jezebel, period. And then you have to ask yourself, is this the type of woman I want to deal with? Is this the type of woman that I want to, she loose, immoral, sexually liberated, which means she can do whatever she wants to. She's sly. She's strong-willed. You can't make her even see anything because she won't. This is what I'm trying to help you guys understand. This is not something that's new. All of this is in your Bible if you actually read it correctly and understand what you're reading and just accept it for what it is. So that's what? That's the Jezebel spirit. What happens if you end up with a woman like this? How many men do we know who've been taken down and corrupted and have had their whole family annihilated because the wife is out here sleeping with other men, or the wife is out here sleeping with this man and that man and gets somebody killed, or she ends up killing somebody? Jealous lovers. That's that Jezebel spirit. Or she's out there flirting with this one and flirting with that one, bringing all that mess to you. She wants to dress in a provocative way when you going out and about and you can't tell her what to do. She's too strong-willed to even tell her to cover herself up even mildly. I'm not saying she got to walk out with bed sheets wrapped around her so nobody can see anything, but dressed in a modern fashion. So what? Keep you safe. So that you don't have to always be caught up in a situation where you have to defend her. What a selfish woman. Savage. What does that mean? Uncivilized. Full of, just, you can tell it when you see it. It's the way in which she carries herself. No manners, no grace. Savage. That's what savage means. Loud, boisterous, disrespectful, foul mouth, calling you bruh. MF is every other word out of mouth is a swear word or a curse word. That's savage. We've seen that before. We see that right now. It's nothing new. That's the Jezebel spirit. So you fellas should just be mindful of that. I'm not telling you that these women don't have good qualities, okay, and redeeming qualities. I'm telling you, that's the Jezebel spirit right there. And you can tell it when you hear it. All you got to do is label it, recognize it for what it is, and then move around it or act accordingly. Now, if you decide to partake in that, well, you do so at your own peril because you have been warned. You see what I'm saying? So that's the Jezebel spirit in a nutshell. And I invite you guys to read that chapter in 1 Kings 16 and 31 and learn for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I don't want you to do that. I want you to read this Bible for yourself. All of you all who forsaken the Bible and say the Bible, they don't know what they talk, go read it for yourself, right? You see what I'm saying? Don't just take Uncle D's word for it. Go read it for yourself. See what it is, see what it says. And you tell me what you think. Now, in the meantime, we're going to do one more, and that is going to be Salome, who is another character in the Bible. Let me see. Join the stream, and y'all make sure y'all contribute. Join the live stream. Oops, I'm sorry. And any of you ladies who want to come in and talk about it, join the live stream and let's talk. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. All right. Now I want you brothers to learn this on your own. Okay. I want you to go off and do your own research, but this is where we are. My man said, Booker T said, you just described damn near every woman on my timeline. Yeah, because there's a lot of that going out there, bro. Well, it is what it is. And it's just, I think men just need to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? We just need to have a conversation about it. Not all women are good not every woman is a woman that you need to be in a relationship with. Not every woman is a woman that you need to lay down with or marry or reproduce with. Because if you do so, this is who you're bringing into your household. These are the type of conversations that men should be having, in the men's groups. How to properly screen these women, making sure, because a beautiful face, that's not all you need in a relationship. So look, let's get the likes up. We got 145 people in the chat room. We got 89 likes. We got 2 dislikes. I don't know what your dislikes are, but if you're mad about this, be mad at God. That's what you do. Be angry with the Lord. Hallelujah. The link is in the chat room. Anybody who wants to join in can join in. But in the meantime, man, we got 89 likes. We got 141 people. I don't want to have to keep running these commercials, but I shall. And also contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. That's running on the bottom of the screen. So next up, right, we talked about Eve, we talked about Lilith, we talked about Jezebel, and now we're going to talk about Salome. And this is somebody said the dislikes are Eve and Jezebel. That's funny. That could be very well true. So in the New Testament, let's see, Salome is commonly identified with the daughter of Herodias, who, according to the New Testament in Mark 6 and 21 and 29 and Matthew 14, 3 and 11, danced for Herod. In his Jewish antiquities, Josephus mentions marriages and children of the daughter of Herodias named Salome. In the New Testament, according to Mark 6 and 21 through 29, daughter of Herodias danced before Herod at his birthday celebration, and in doing so, gave her mother the opportunity to obtain the head of John the Baptist. Now, if you guys don't know who John the Baptist is, John the Baptist was the man who baptized Jesus. So that should let you know the type of person he was. And Salome's mother convinced her daughter, right, to do her dirty work and asked the king to behead John the Baptist. Although the New Testament accounts do not mention a name for the girl, this daughter of Herodias is often identified with Salome. According to Mark's gospel, Herodias bore a grudge against John for stating that Herod's marriage to her was unlawful, she encouraged her daughter to demand that John be executed. Mark's account, okay, at 6:21, and a covenant day arrived with Herod spread an evening meal on his birthday for his high officials and military commanders and most prominent men in Galilee. The daughter of Herodias came in and danced, pleasing Herod and those dining with him. The king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you want, and I will give it to you." "Yes," he swore to her, "whatever you ask me for, I will give it to you, up to half my kingdom." So she could have asked for half his kingdom, and he would have gave it to her. And what did she ask for? What happened after that was, so she went out and said to her mother. So she went and sought counsel from her mother. "What should I ask for?" she said. "The head of John the Baptist." And why? Because the mother had a vendetta against this man who disapproved of her marriage. Basically, he disapproved of the choice she made. So she sent her daughter out to get somebody who was in power to behead this man. Am I bringing this home yet? She immediately rushed to the king and made her request, saying, "I want you to give me right away on a platter the head of John the Baptist." Although this deeply grieved the king, the king did not want to disregard her request because of his oaths and his guests. So basically what happened, he said, "Look, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want, baby, no problem." And so when she asked for John the Baptist, he knew of John the Baptist. John the Baptist was a good man. He was known for doing good things. He had baptized Jesus. Nobody had a problem with John the Baptist, but now he's in a situation where all these other people in power are looking around at him saying, "Well, you gave her your oath, man. Your balls in your word. Yeah, I know it's a tough decision, but you were the one, you were pleased by the dance. You gave her your word, and if you don't give this girl, you don't keep this promise to this girl, how do we know we can trust you from this point forward?" So because of his guests and his guests, and he couldn't say no. He just had to do it. So what happened? So the king immediately sent a bodyguard and commanded him to bring John's head. So he went off and beheaded him in the prison and brought his head on a platter. He gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took his body and laid him in the tomb. So what does that tell you? So in this situation, all right, and I want you fellas to think long and hard about this. In this situation, right, you got a woman who's being manipulated by her mother because of vendettas that her mother's had. So the mother is mad at some man. So she tells her daughter, "You should make this man your enemy, girl. This man ain't no good, girl. You should do everything you can to undermine this man." And so when another man comes along, that has the power to destroy this man, you should, girl. Where have we heard that, fellas, black men? These ninjas ain't nothing. Get all you can, girl. If he do something to you, girl, call the police on him, girl. Have the police come and arrest him up, pick him up for that child support, girl. She's angry with the men in her life. And so she spreads that poison to her daughter, and then her daughter does what? Her daughter takes out the vendetta. So what does that tell you? Now, there's also this. There's also some allegations in Salome, because think about it. The king, this is his stepdaughter, right? And she was dancing provocatively in front of this king. Now, the Bible doesn't say it outright, but there's some thoughts that perhaps there's some incest going on. There's some sort of inappropriate relationship between this man and his stepdaughter. This is also played out, but the mother is aware of this. The mother is aware that this daughter is a sexual object to this man, who is her husband. So think about that. Where have we seen that before? We know mothers who will put their daughters up for what? So they can get favors and won't say anything about it. We know that. That happens often. It's unfortunate, but it happens often in this society that we live in. So now you got a little girl, right? She's been touched inappropriately by a man in her household, whether you call him your boyfriend or whatever. It's the mama's boyfriend touching these girls. What is that girl capable of? Well, what we found out is, Well, what she is a product of, she's a manifestation of wrongdoings of the generations that came before her. She's capable of doing massive wrong. She's overly sultry and the product of what? An incestuous or inappropriate relationship. There's a lot of women out there like that, fellas. They've been touched inappropriately by women who are in their household. These women are what? They're manifestations of the wrongdoings of the generations. And more importantly, she's capable of doing massive wrong. When you take that away from a young woman like that, when you do a young woman like that, when these men who are in their lives put there by their mothers and these stepfathers and these boyfriends, when these things happen, these horrible things happen to these young girls, they then become capable of doing massive wrong. I know that nobody in your church has told you about the story of Salome, because you would have better answers. You would know more about what you're getting into when you deal with a woman who's been touched inappropriately in a relationship like that. She needs to be healed first. The old people would say she has demons in her, right? The young people would say she has some psychosis. She needs some psychological evaluation. That's what the young people would say. The ancient people from 2,000 years ago would say that unleashed the demon in her. Or some demon came. The young people say she needs therapy, wouldn't it? And until she gets therapy, she's going to be capable of doing what? Capable of doing massive wrong. And we've seen it, because women like that, what do they end up doing? They end up in strip clubs. They end up hating men. They end up saying things like abort black baby boys, kill, all sorts of things, all sorts. They just throw their bodies out there for everybody. You understand? This is a bad. Anybody who's worked in a strip club, you know, there's a lot of women in there who've been touched inappropriately at a young age. We know that. So this is the story of Salome. Aren't these things that we've seen? This is right there in that Holy Bible that y'all grandma has sitting up in there. The one with the missing pages. All this is in there. But nobody ever bothered to tell you to look at it. This is all there, fam. So we're at 1 minute. We're at 1 hour, 9 minutes. I'm going to put the join the conversation. If anybody would like to talk about this, let's do that. I'd love to hear from you guys. I think this is a very intriguing conversation. I think it's appropriate for a Sunday. Somebody else said, let's talk about Delilah. Well, we're not talking about Delilah today. We're talking about Eve, Lilith, Jezebel, and Salome. If you'd like to come in and talk about these women, let's do it. Maybe we'll do Delilah on another day. But in the meantime, I appreciate everybody running. Everybody contribute to the super chat. We want to come in. I want people to come in. Let's have this conversation. That Bible that you have, that same Holy Bible that you have, right? It is the history of it. It is the circumstances of man. It is life. It is consequences. And if you read it and you understand what you're reading, it can be very helpful to guiding you, men, in your life and helping you be a better moral authority, because it tells you the past and the future. This is what's going to happen. If you do this, if this happens to a woman, this is going to happen. If that happens, this, it gives you, it's all laid out right. It's laid out right there for you. You see what I'm saying? And so what I want you to do is not throw your Holy Bible away. So in the meantime, the link is in the chat room. Come on in. Let's have this conversation. In the meantime, contribute to the super chat. If you appreciate what I'm doing here, I know you do. I know this has been eye-opening for some people, because I know you don't have people talking to you like this. This can be tremendously helpful to you men. Now, when you meet a woman like Eve, a woman like Lilith, a woman like Jezebel, a woman like Salome, and they exhibit those characteristics, and you hear about their past history, then you already know what you're looking for, and you can make a decision right there. Do I even want to get involved with this woman? You see, and if you're raising a young girl, you'll know what's important and what not to do when you're dealing with it. You will know what's important and what to look out for. When you hear it, you'll know. I'm telling you. My man Rufus said the Bible is all red pill. I'm trying to told you, but you ain't want to hear me, baby. But in the meantime, look, man, contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, the PayPal. If you appreciate what I'm doing here, man, I'd love for y'all to show me your appreciation by kicking in. In the meantime, join the live stream. Let's take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll do some more follow up.
You appreciate the format. You appreciate what we're doing. Make sure you contribute. And make sure you contribute to Cash App. Make sure you contribute to PayPal. Make sure you donate. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you. It's only you. Your contributions to keep this thing going. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here, at Dennis Sterling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live.
I want to hear wrong.
Thank you, everybody, for your contribution. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. Your contributions and your donations that'll cause this platform.
They don't get a man
our voice be the preeminent voice in Black America. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions to keep this thing going.
Hi, my name is Dennis Sterling. I'm not looking at my daddy. If you've been in a car accident, call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, my daddy will fight for your right. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy and Dennis Sterling.
I'm attorney Dennis Sterling. I've been injured in a car wreck. Call me. 713-229-7770.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and these are my two adorable and handsome sons. And that is my ex-husband, attorney Dennis Sterling. He practices personal injury law. Will be more than happy to help you with claims arising from automobiles. He doesn't get paid unless you get paid. As we first wives, the more our ex-husbands get paid, the more we get paid. So let me help him. Call Mrs. 713-229-0770.
I will scream and I will holler. And I will holler. I'll scream and holler some more. And holler some more. Absolutely nothing.
You have a choice in legal representation. And in making that, you want an attorney with a made-for-TV nickname to represent you in your serious car wreck claim?
I will growl. Can't scream and scream.
My name is Dennis Sterling. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, contact me at 866-529-244. The choice is yours.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Uncle D, and I'm back, and I want to talk to you all. This is going to be the second time we discuss women of the Bible. Here's the thing. This page I use to try to talk to Black men, to men generally speaking, all men. But, one of the things that you have to understand, even after you develop yourself and become the man you want to be, spiritually, emotionally, physically, you have got to know how to decipher the language of the women in front of you and assess what type of character the woman has in front of you. Now, oftentimes, we will talk about ladies in a sense as though they are infallible. All of them are perfect, and I can just pick one from the bunch, and she can be my wife, and we can live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that's a mistake. And what you fellas have to do, to learn to discern the women that are in front of you. Now, there's really no tricks to it, and you have to understand that it's not necessarily that you're the prize or that the woman is the prize. Rather, it's not a competition. What it is you need to figure out what works for you. And there are some women that might be perfect for one guy and horrible for the next. But I think the most important thing is we need to learn who we're dealing with as men. And so this is going to be the second part of the series, Women of the Bible, from a red pill perspective. And we're going to talk about Bathsheba, Delilah, Rahab, and Lot's wife. I use that term red pill because I know that's a catchy phrase, and a lot of you young brothers are into the red pill movement and all these different things. I get it. But at the end of the day, it's really just speaking truth without blinders on, and just speaking on what exactly it is you see in front of you. If you had an opportunity to grow up with older guys, older men, and they were able to speak honestly with you, they would tell you these things. So unfortunately, we have maybe one, or at least two generations that have grown up without that older male influence that kind of speaks to young men and helps them have good discernment when it comes to dealing with the ladies. And I'm not doing this to disparage any one sex over the other, but you know, oftentimes ladies are allowed to speak openly and freely about the likes and dislikes they have about men, but men aren't really able to train our sons and our nephews, and hell, even ourselves, you know, about what we should and should not want in a woman, the characteristics that is. So without further ado, let's talk about Bathsheba. Now, if you review the Holy Bible, and I got my King James, everybody has one, for the most part, easily accessible. It's the most, the most reprinted book in the world. So I'm sure you have access to it. There's a story of a young woman named Bathsheba. Now, I'm at the Wiki, and if you don't have a Bible with you, you can simply go to Wikipedia, type in Bathsheba. The name is spelled Bathsheba. This is, to me, a very interesting story related to hypergamy, which is where women use their looks and their charm, their youth and their beauty to attract men who are higher social status, who have more money, ... Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah the Hittite and later of David. According to the Hebrew Bible, she is most known for a biblical narrative in which she was summoned by King David, who had seen her bathing and lusted after her. Now, basically, she was the mother of Solomon, who succeeded David as king, making her the queen mother. Bathsheba was the daughter of, we don't need to go to that. David's first interactions with Bathsheba are described in 2 Samuel 11 and omitted in the books of Chronicles. David, while working on the roof of his palace, saw a very beautiful woman bathing. He ordered inquiries and found out that she was Bathsheba, wife of Uriah. He desired her and later made her pregnant. In an effort to conceal his sin, David summoned Uriah from the army with whom he was on a campaign, in the hope that Uriah would have sex with her and think that the child belonged to him. But Uriah was unwilling to violate the ancient kingdom rule applying to warriors in active service. And that rule was you don't have sex with women or your wife because, you know, just like boxers, it makes you weak, it makes you distracted. Nevertheless, rather than go home to his own bed, he preferred to remain with the palace troops. After repeated efforts to convince Uriah to have sex with Bathsheba, the king gave the order to his general Joab that Uriah should be placed on the front lines of battle, where Uriah would be more likely to die. David had Uriah himself carry the message that led to his death. After Uriah had been killed, David married Bathsheba. David's actions were displeasing to the Lord, who sent Nathan the prophet to reprove the king after relating the parable of the rich man who took away the one little ewe lamb of his poor neighbor. And that's in 2 Samuel 11, 1 and 6. And exciting the king's anger against the unrighteous act, the prophet applied the case directly to David's actions with regard to Bathsheba. The king at once confessed his sin and expressed sincere repentance. Bathsheba's first child by David was struck with severe illness and died, unnamed, a few days after birth, which the king accepted as his punishment. Nathan also noted that David's house would be punished for Uriah's murder. Basically, this is a story of hypergamy. So that passage, and it's in 2 Samuel in the Holy Bible, 12, 1 through 6, it basically says that the king was home working on his roof. He was at his house. He looked off, he saw a beautiful woman named Bathsheba. He saw a beautiful woman bathing, not even know who she was at the time. And then he made inquiries as to who she was. So at some point, he had her brought to him. Okay? He had sex with this woman, got her pregnant. And then in order to try to conceal the fact that she was pregnant, because remember, you know, these folks didn't have any abortion clinics around, right? I mean, I'm sure there were ways that they could get rid of children, but that in itself would be a sin. So instead, what he was trying to do was pull a ruse on the woman's husband. The woman's husband's name was Uriah the Hittite. And he was in David's military, and he was actually out at war. And so what he did was he had him come home in hopes that when he came home, that he would have sex with his wife. And so then 9 months later, he could say, well, that's your child. So the husband wouldn't be suspicious. But Uriah was such a good soldier that he followed the rule that I will not have sex with my woman while I'm at war. In other words, you on the war front, and all of a sudden you get called home to come sit home. And what's the first thing you want to do when you get home? You want to relax, you want to make love to your woman. But he didn't do that. Instead, he decided to stay in the castle with the troops, away from his lady. This is how good of a soldier this man was. Probably hadn't seen his woman and his wife in months, or could have been longer than that, who knows? But the bottom line, he refused to have sex. So now this ruse didn't work. And so now David is in a situation where he's going to be found out. The question is going to be asked, who did you get pregnant by? And if judgment had to be passed on this woman as far as whether or not she was an adulterer, right? And remember, there was a huge punishment for women who were deemed to be adulterers. I think in some places, death or stoning. He would be the one who'd have to pass judgment on this woman, most likely, or he would have to intervene, because remember, he was the one that had sex with the woman. Now, Uriah wouldn't do it. He wouldn't cooperate along with the ruse. He wouldn't have sex with his wife. And so David was put in a situation where he had to now try to figure out how to cover his tracks. So what did he do? He called David to the palace or whatever, to his presence, gave him a note to give to his general, Joab, the man who was in charge of him, and said, put him at the front lines. This is a good soldier. You put him in the front lines where all the action is, more likely than not, he's going to get killed. And that's what David counted on. And so what ended up happening was, as expected, the man was killed. And then David took the woman Bathsheba as his wife, and that first child that he conceived with her died. And so, he knew he was wrong. He confessed his sins. He knew he was wrong. But what we want to do at this point is let's look beneath that line. You have a woman who some will say, oh, well, that was the king. She didn't have a choice. But she couldn't tell her husband. She didn't tell anybody. She didn't cooperate. Clearly, there was some tacit agreement that went along with that. Maybe she didn't have any choice as to whether the king took her or not. But the fact that she didn't tell her husband at all what had happened, what does that say about her? It says at some point she was complicit. And look at the deal. You go from being the wife of a foot soldier to being the mother of the next king of the kingdom and the wife of the current king, a great man, David. Remember, this is the same David who slew Goliath. So she took some chances, and she hedged her bets on the come up. It was hypergamy at play. Now, a lot of people won't admit that. A lot of people say, oh, she had no agency. She didn't do it. But if you look at the Bible at the time, there were plenty of women doing things that they weren't just outright loyal to the king. Like, she couldn't tell her husband, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. She didn't tell anybody. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to accept that. And this is part of the reason why I say, yeah, the Bible is chauvinistic, because it didn't give that woman any agency. It's basically separating her from any responsibility as if she's a child. And that's just not true. That was a grown woman. She was a married woman. And she understood, like anybody else, that Israel at the time was the kingdom of God. And David was just sitting as the king. They prayed to God. You see, God was that was who they should be praying to. And she knew under God's law, that was wrong. Adultery was wrong. And so she played along with it. I refuse to believe that this woman, just was a poor, innocent victim. Yeah, she might not have had control over, the king taking her or not, but whether or not she spoke about it to her husband afterwards, I think she had a choice. And by saying she didn't, you take agency away from this woman. You put this woman into the position of a child. And that's disrespectful to all women. We shouldn't do that. We should give them exactly what they deserve, the same respect we give other human beings. So that being the case, this is a case of hypergamy. This is what hypergamy looks like in the Holy Bible. And this is the story of Bathsheba and David. Now, what you can learn from this, fellas, It's something that my Uncle Slim taught me a long time ago. Your woman may love you. She may love you with all her heart, but that doesn't mean she's not looking around for a better deal. And I hate to say that, I hate to burst your bubble, but if our ancient man was able to determine that in these books, in this Holy Bible, then that's something that you shouldn't ignore. If ancient man was able to call that, if that's been going on since that time, why do you think that women's nature has changed in the past 2,000 years? It hasn't. And it's only natural. Even if you look in your biology, your study of science, you know, women are always looking around for the stronger, wealthier male with the higher social status. It's hypergamy. That's why it's incumbent upon you as men to be the best man you can be and always be building yourselves up. That's the lesson, because a king may come along and take your wife. You know, it may not be a king, it may be somebody else, and it's unfortunate. You see, but marriage is supposed to protect against that, right? You know, because see, men always think, oh, women use marriage because I get old and she'll leave me. Yeah, but it also protects you from your wife running off on you with this next guy, right? I mean, you know, guys don't like, I know you guys YouTube don't like to look at that, but that's true too. She could run off with the next guy who is a little bit wealthier, a little taller, better looking. And so you got to contemplate that too. But so that's Bathsheba. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, make sure you contribute to the super chat and the Cash App. I'm going to put the link up. When we come back, we're going to go over who's the next up. Delilah. Oh my God, right? My man Drake Tolman said, yeah, Bree false law. Bree false law, man. If you guys don't know what that is, you need to check it out. It basically said women dictate the dynamics of the family. You know, women determine. It says Bree false law maintains that the female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family, where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male. She will she'll derive no benefit from association with the male. No such association takes place. For instance, let me tell you, and I know this is controversial, I know the lovely ladies may not appreciate this, but if you look at the case of the African-American family, and you look at the case of typical Hispanic families, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, 80s, African-American females were presented with the same option that Hispanic females were presented with, i.e. you can take this welfare, but you got to get rid of your husband. Well, our African-American sisters, oftentimes they did. They took the money, they got rid of their husbands, and here we are in the Black community now. This is what we're dealing with, a bunch of, it's culturally, it's kind of acceptable. I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need a man. That's Bree false law at work. She didn't see a need for a husband. She didn't see a need for a man. And, whereas you look at the Hispanic family, these Hispanic women, they also got welfare. I believe they got more welfare, or at least a comparable amount than most African-American women did. But they kept their husbands. And so that's why they have intact families. And so here, those two minority groups, under very similar circumstances of oppression under the dominant society, whereas one took the opportunity and maintained their family and the other one didn't because they didn't need it. And that's just Bree false law in effect. That's just, it is what it is. Now, does that apply to this situation with Bathsheba and King David? I think that's just more straight up hypergamy. I think that's just, and thank you so much, Eagle Eyes and Drake Tolman. I think that's just more straight up hypergamy. But the whole point of me bringing this up in this context on this Sunday is I want you guys to really think about reading the Bible, because at the end of the day, all it is, right? All it is our ancient ancestors talking to us about the human experience that they experience. And when you're able to kind of go through the cultural differences, understand what they mean by this, that, and you translate it, you'll see that many of those experiences that they had are the same human experiences that we're experiencing now. So you guys got to keep that in mind. Anybody who tells you to run away from the Bible, oh, this, that, and the other, they're asking you to miss out. This is the cheat code right here. This gives you the cheat code. I'm telling you. And if anybody who's read my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World, I break all of these sort of things down for you guys. This whole series that I'm going through, this is kind of what I talk about. These rules to live by, these are the human rules. These are the rules of the universe that apply to the human condition. But I analyze it in the form of conflict resolution or conflict versus peace. And one of my rules is in order to have peace, you have got to, in order to maintain peace of mind and happiness, you have got to know what? You got to know how to resolve conflict. So that's it. Let me see. Arms Megiddo Sperling is a Hebrew Israelite. That's what I'm not, but I remember going up to Venice Beach as a young man in South Central LA. And those Hebrew Israelites, boy, they would be out there talking about the Bible, and I just thought it was very interesting, their dedication. Maybe I'm not that. I consider myself a Christian. I was born Baptist, and so I'm gonna die a Baptist. But I do know that there is truth in this Holy Bible. I do know that, and I want you young men not to overlook the truth in this Holy Bible. Don't run away from it. One of our greatest minds, one of our greatest Black scholars, Dr. John Henry Clark, said, don't throw out the Bible. And so I want you guys to really, really take the opportunity to really get that wisdom that's derived, that can be derived from the Holy Scripture. It's all there. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
All right, so we're coming back, and the next person that we're going to talk about, right, is Delilah. Now, you guys are often familiar with the story of Samson and Delilah, right? I mean, I think that's something that we learned about. But I'll give you a little background on Delilah. And this is straight out of Wikipedia. Delilah, meaning delicate in Arabic, is a woman mentioned in the 16th chapter of the book of Judges in the Hebrew Bible. She is loved by Samson, a Nazarite who possesses great strength and serves as the final judge of Israel. Delilah is bribed by the lords of the Philistines to discover the source of his strength. After 3 failed attempts at doing so, she finally goads Samson into telling her that his vigor is derived from his hair. As he sleeps, Delilah orders a servant to cut Samson's hair, thereby enabling her to turn him over to the Philistines. Delilah has been the subject of both rabbinic and Christian commentary. Rabbinic literature identifies her with Micah's mother. Okay, that's some more stuff we don't have to go into. Let's go to here. Delilah was a woman, and this is according to the Bible. Delilah was a woman of Sareph. She is the only woman in Samson's story who was named. The Bible says that Samson loved her, Judges 16:4. But now listen to this, right? The Bible says that Samson loved her, Judges 16:4, but not that she loved him. That's interesting, right? He loved her, but she didn't love him, right? We've heard that story before, right? So let me see what else. The two were not married. In other words, he was just, Samson was out there messing around. He got this hot chick named Delilah. She's about that life. He's about that life. And, enjoying it. He's having a good time. And they're not married. And let me see. The idea that they had sexual relationship is, in the words of Josie Bridges Snyder, at most implicit in the Bible text. So it doesn't necessarily say they had sex, but it's implied. It's implied that they did the wild monkey dance, and that's how she captivated this strong man's heart, and had him all in love with her. Right? We can put that together. We're figuring this out, right? This is the human experience, and typically men don't just fall in love, because some woman is sweet to him. Typically, there's a little bit more involved in that, and we know. Okay, so that's why you have to read the Bible with an understanding for the human condition. That's why it's, in my opinion, good for mature minds to read the Bible, because you have a lot more. I have a lot more understanding about life at 40 than I did at 14, and so because of that, I'm able to, read it and interpret it. But let me see. As we said earlier, and this is important too, the lords of the Philistines bribed her to discover the source of Samson's great strength. She, each offering to give her 1,100 silver coins 3 times, and she fell. In other words, they were paying her to find out what made this man strong, what made this powerful guy, right, who was the 3rd judge of the Israelite, what made him strong? Because this is not a guy that we want to have to contend with. And if we can get his woman to take him down, that we shall do. Okay, so this is where they were coming from. All right, and so they tried 3 times. They offered to pay her 3 times, and it didn't work. Let's see. First, let me see. First, at his own suggestion, she bound him with 7 great weeds, but these easily snapped asunder. In other words, he was giving her like, yeah, baby, my strength, you just got to bind me with 7 weeds. You know what you're saying to you, girl. You just a little pillow talk. Girl, I ain't about to tell you all my business. And then, the more he was around this gold digger, the more he learned, or the more she learned about it. Then she tied him with new ropes. They also failed. That was something else he said. Then she fastened the locks of his hair to the loom. That's like a guitar, right? But with the same result. Finally, after many complaints that Samson did not trust her, listen to that, right? She said, finally, you don't trust me, Samson. Tell me your weaknesses. Tell me your secrets. Oh my God, how dare you not trust me? You don't trust me, Samson. You don't believe this is your baby? Why would you want to take a DNA test? What do you mean you want a prenuptial agreement? You don't trust me. I can't believe that. Blah, 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 blah. You guys have heard this before, right? I'm sure. So these are the lessons that you can learn, right? Keep it in mind. Keep in mind, right? This lovely lady is a gold digger. Okay, this is the modern day term. She don't love him. She's trying with silver digger technically. Finally, after many complaints that Samson did not trust her, he told her that his strength lay in his hair. So he finally, being around that woman, he finally relented. It's kind of like that old Pimp C song. And I know I shouldn't be bringing up Pimp C when I'm referencing the Bible, but Pimp had a lot going on. Man. Pimp knew a lot. Shout out to the UGK, man, UGK for life. But he basically, the more you're around a woman, you're not taking it serious, but after a while, it gets serious because she starts filling that role. And that's what happened with this man. So now he's in a situation where he's let his secret out to a woman that doesn't love him, right? A woman that's in it for her own, who's literally feeding his enemies information about him so that they can undermine him, right? And that's what ends up happening. So you guys who don't know, the story of Samson and Delilah, after that, she cut his hair. He lost his strength. They tied him up to 2 pillars. And they tied that. I think they probably tortured him a little bit, but whatever. Then this is what happened. Then when he was asleep, she ordered a servant to cut Samson's hair. When she then awoke him and delivered him unto the hands of the waiting Philistines chiefs. In other words, these same people that paid her, these same folks, she delivered them on to him. In other words, she sold him out. Remember, he loved her. She didn't love him at all. They weren't married. They were just, the emphasis, you're just messing around, basically. You see what I mean? And look what ended up happening to him. She sold him out, turned him into his enemies. The Bible doesn't mention her fate. As James D. J. Dunn and John Williams Rogerson note in Etterman's commentary on the Bible, it will never discuss whether Delilah felt guilt of her actions. They don't know what happened. All we know is she got paid and she went on about her business. So the story that we can learn, okay, fellas. So, and if you know the story of Delilah, basically what happened was at that point, you know, as I was saying earlier, they tied Samson up. He was weak. His hair had grown back a little bit. I believe he called out to the Lord, and then he was able to get a little strength and bring the pillars down upon these Philistine chiefs who was his adversary and killed them all or something like that. So the Lord came through for him in the end. But in recap, as I said before, Delilah the gold digger was a woman of Sorek. She was the only woman in Samson's story. Okay, let me get back to this. So basically that's it. So fellas, what do you do now? Think about this. You got a woman who you know doesn't love you, right? She's in it for the money. She's she's asking you all these secrets. This woman doesn't care about you. She doesn't love you. You're not married to her, right? She's in it for the money, right? We've heard that before, right? Yeah, we know that. But yet and still as men, we're still willing to overlook that, right? We're willing to overlook this get the bag culture. You see what I'm saying? We're willing. This is a gold digger, right? You know that she doesn't love you. You still bring her into your heart. You bring her into your life. You keep her around. And then when you betray her, you feel stupid. But why would you feel stupid? Because you knew she was a gold digger and didn't love you in the first place. Why feel betrayed? You see, now what you can do is you can begin to use the discernment. If you're dealing with a woman, right, and you know she doesn't love you, you know, and you around here telling her all your secrets. First of all, you shouldn't let a woman get in that close to you like that early. You know, you're just having sex with her and she's getting all this information. Nothing is for free, fellas. And this is the danger of dealing with a gold digger. You think you can play with her and all these sort of things, and you can just smash and go, you the big man. Broke him all the way down, fellas. Broke him all the way down. All right. And that's what happens. Even a strong man can succumb to the wiles of a woman. And this is universal. You see what I mean? This is not germane to one group. This is women. This is what you should be looking for. You should come up with tests and things to determine if a woman really loves you. And don't just jump into it before you fall all in love with a woman. Guard your heart. Because there are women out there that will use you. I mean, this is the human thing. And you know, women will tell other women all the time, there are men out there that will use you, but very rarely do we tell men, hey, there are women out there that will use you and take advantage of it. They'll get you in a compromised situation. You think you're all in love. You done fell in love with a gold digger. And next thing you know, man, you got your hair cut and your enemies got you shackled down. All right. So that's as I look at it, Delilah with red pill in, she's an opportunity. She's a gold digger. You see what I mean? She sold this man out who she convinced to fall in love with her. You know, and she took silver and traded him into his enemies. So that's a very interesting story. But we're gonna take a little break. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. The only time Black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So, hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you.
All right, so we are back, fellas, and I want to talk to you guys about a very, very important subject. This is the story of Rahab. Okay, Rahab, she was a prostitute who lived in the Canaanite city of Jericho, and she became a worshiper of Jehovah God. What did she do? Rahab hid 2 Israelites who were spying out the land. So here's a story. The people of Israel had escaped from Egypt, and they were on their way to the promised land, right? And so they were instructed to kill off all the people that was in the way. If you was in the promised land, they were going to take you out. Anybody in the way, we're going to burn everything down. We're going to kill all the dogs, the cats, the horses, the babies, the mules, the people, the women, the children. Everybody's got to go. We're going to wipe this land clean. And those of you who understand that those things, even the memories of those cultures that would have existed on that land, were a danger to the people. So under God's instruction, and this is in the Holy Bible, right? Y'all love the Lord, right? Well, this is what the Bible says, annihilate everything, right? Because even a goat would remind somebody, well, this was the goat of the this was the goat of the people who lived in Canaanite city. So that would even remind them of their culture. Everything was supposed to be annihilated. You see, everything was supposed to be annihilated. Now, people understood that because word got back around, right? And so when you're dealing with Rahab, these people, you had two Israelites that was trying, there's a Canaanite city of Jericho that was trying, how do we get in through these walls of Jericho? These walls have been penetrated. We need to figure out how to get our way in here. I mean, we're going to be out here for months and years, with this army of Israelites trying to reclaim the promised land if we don't, figure out how to get in here. So here walks the story of Rahab. Who was Rahab? She was a prostitute who lived in Canaanite city of Jericho, and she became a worshiper of Jehovah God. In other words, she started worshiping, the same God that the Israelites worship. What did she do? Rahab hid two Israelites who were spying out the land. In other words, she's like, okay, y'all come in here with me. Mind you, this is a woman from the city of Canaanite same God that the Israelites. She's a prostitute. What did she do? Rahab hid two Israelites who were spying out the land. In other words, in the house, let them come in the gates and hid them out. It didn't tell the authorities in Jericho, I got these two dudes here and they plotting against y'all. She didn't do that. She hid them. She did this because she had heard reports of how Israel's God, Jehovah, delivered his people from Egypt and later from an attack by a tribe called the Amorites. In other words, she heard they were winners, right? She heard this group of people were winners, and she decided, now I'm going to be down with them. I'm going to give up my God and worship their God because they're winners, right? That's basically what the story is saying. I really need you guys to check this Holy Bible out. It's some very eye-opening, and some of y'all are already seeing where I'm going here. I hope you are. But let me see. Rahab helped the spies and pleaded with them to spare her and her family when the Israelites came to destroy Jericho. So basically what they're saying is, family, I know y'all coming in and y'all gonna kill everybody. Just please, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna worship your God. I'm down with y'all. Just spare my family. Let us go. That's it. You can kill all the rest of my people, all the rest of these people I grew up with, went to school with, traded with, worship with, all of them. These are my people. This is my race of people right here. But I'm gonna trade them in, and I'm gonna go with you guys, right? And all I ask you to do is just spare my family, which implies immediate family. And so that's basically what they did. Rahab helped the spies and pleaded with them to spare her and her family. When the Israelites came to destroy Jericho, they agreed, but on certain conditions. She would keep their mission secret. She and her family would remain inside her house when the Israelites attacked, and she would hang a scarlet cord from her window to identify her home. Rahab obeyed every instruction, and she and her family survived when the Israelites captured Jericho. Rahab later married an Israelite and became an accentress of both King David, in other words, she was related to them, King David and Jesus Christ. That's in Joshua 2, 1 and 24 and 25, Matthew 1 and 5. What can we learn from Rahab? Okay, now the Bible refers to Rahab as an outstanding example of faith, right? In Hebrews 11, 30 and 31, James 2 and 25. Her story illustrates that God is both forgiving and impartial, blessing those who trust in him, regardless of their background. For further discussion, okay, so that's what the biblical scholars are saying, right? And clearly these biblical scholars have not taken a red pill. What I see, fellas, and what I want you to understand is a concept that I understand and what you gentlemen should understand, that these lovely ladies, women are not loyal to the race. Okay, let me say that again. The story of Rahab shows you that women are not loyal to the race. They're loyal to their own survival. They're loyal to their best opportunity. This is their biological imperative to survive. This is what Rahab did. I know they're coming. I might as well go ahead and help. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna negotiate a deal for my family and myself, and we're gonna survive, And yeah, you know, we know the whole city is going to be annihilated, right down to the goats and the sheep, the children, everybody. That little girl from across the street, that little boy from across the street that you watch being born, all of them are going to be wiped out from Israel. How cold-blooded is that? But again, what that tells you is, fellas, is that these lovely ladies are not race loyal. Why do you think you got white men or white women? Here it is, right? They've been raised in households to say these black dudes are no good. But the minute one of them gets an NBA contract, those white men run to them, right? Same thing with these Hispanic sisters, right? These Hispanic women. Yeah, we understand you got colorism, this, that, and the other, but those women run to them, right? Here in our own community, when dealing with our lovely ladies of the African-American community, we have a group of men, right, who've traditionally oppressed both black men and white women. And these black women are now have a whole movement dedicated to trying to, you know, barter themselves off to these men as to be their wives and whatnot. Even if you look at books like Daughters of the Trade, here in those families, those women married those slave traders who then use the position and authority of those men, of those families, those African families on the West Coast to not only survive, but create a business where they could then capture other Africans and bring them in. You see, so this is a story that women are not race loyal. That's a man thing, right? Women are not loyal to your team just because they're of the same color. You see what I mean? They're going with who's going to help them survive, who's going to help them move on. They're not necessarily concerned about race loyalty. So when women say stuff like, we're the most loyal women to the race, that's just a lie. They're just looking for an opportunity. And if presented with the opportunity of turning you in and remain loyal to the race, look at the story of Rahab. She knew very well what was going to happen. Not only did she sell out the team, she switched gods on them. That's what she did. She switched gods, right? She went from praying to one God to praying to a whole nother God and helped them murder everybody in the town. Can you imagine that? I'm going to go ahead and open up the line. And you guys who want to come on in. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Lot's wife, which is also a very interesting story. So just to recap, we went over Bathsheba. That was a story of hypergamy. We went over Delilah, the gold digger. And we went over the story of Rahab in the Bible, a woman who shows that race loyalty is not something that women follow generally. It's because their biological imperative is to survive, right? And so that goes against their biological imperative. Race is really a man-made construct anyway, and it shows you there that it's man-made. They're only into survival, okay? So you can't get mad at women for doing that. What I want you guys to do is not be fooled by it, okay? And understand that, you know, once you get that down and the world begins to change. It begins to change. So I'm going to start joining the conversation, all right? And when we come back, after this break, and make sure you contribute to the Cash App. If you like what's being said, thank you so much. Let me see. Marion Jones said, someone will use you for your time and placeholder until she can get the man she really wants. Yeah, that's true. That's hypergamy. You know, that's pretty much what that is. They call that monkey branching. But in the meantime, look, you guys contribute to the Super Chat Cash App.
The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So, hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you.
All right, we're going to come right back after this. You guys take the opportunity to join, click on the link, come on in, let's have this conversation. And then also contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App. The Cash App link is scrolling along the bottom. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, it took a lot to put this together and get the terms together, years of research. And, you know, I enjoy doing this because for what it does for me is it helps me reintroduce another generation of black men, especially to the writings of the Holy Bible, you know. And I think if you can bring it home and help men understand, yeah, man, this really can help me, man. This is really some good stuff. This can help me understand life better. It'll help you be a better man. So look, the Cash App is up there. It's also at the screen. You also see join the conversation on the StreamYard. If you find this conversation interesting, you have something else to add, cool, come on in. In the meantime, please contribute to the Cash App, and we'll be right back. Click on the link, come on in. we're gonna take a break again. Come right back. We got 92 people here, and make sure you get the likes up. We got 92 people and 67 likes. So that's a little low. Let's get the likes up, fellas. Isaiah came in. Thank you so much, Isaiah. Anybody who wants to come in, come on in. But in the meantime, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Dramatization.
After a car wreck, you may have to fight with a highly trained insurance company rep whose job is to knock your damage claim down and out. It's a bad idea to enter the ring alone against a trained boxer. And it could be a bad idea to fight against a big insurance company. When the bell rings, Dennis Sperling. If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck, call Dennis Sperling at 866-529-2444. That's 866-529-2444.
Contributions and your donations that are cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the voice, the preeminent voice in Black America.
All right, fellas, we are back again, and welcome everybody who's here. Look, this is not a religious channel. I'm not a Bible scholar or anything. Simply, this is a channel designed to help men get a better understanding of the world around them, to become better men. And I'm taking this opportunity on this beautiful Sunday here to try to, point out how relevant the Holy Scripture really is. And it took me a while to get back to it. I think I was probably well into my 30s before I really started saying, you know what, there's something to this Bible. There's a reason why this book has been around, for over 1,000 some odd years, and relatively unchanged, as far as the stories. And how things operate in this world, because it's the story of humanity. It's the story of the human experience. And we need to gather and get all the information we can from this. Now, the last, and if you guys are enjoying this, man, make sure you let me know if there's some other topics you want to discover, if you want to talk about based on a perspective of men. And see, what we're doing today, fellas, I'm trying to bring this home. I'm trying to bring this word of Bible, this word of God back to you. There's truth in here. And the simplest topic that we can discuss is our relationship and our interaction with women based on what we see men in the past from these stories have had to interact with. So this is why we're here. This is why we're doing this. My man Cadillac Land said, UGK alum. Yeah, that's right, man. Shout out to UG Pimp C and Bun. Man, I met Bun B about 2 or 3 years ago, man. He's a cool dude, man. I actually, through my company, Esquire Entertainment, I helped promote I helped promote a movie. And so Bun B showed up because the director / producer of the movie was one of his homeboys. So I got a chance to meet Bun B. That's cool when you get to the point where you can meet all your favorite, childhood, like heroes, not necessarily heroes, but people you admire from back in the day. So shout out to UGK, man. There's some real good, and I did a series about gangster rap from the 1980s and 1990s, and I broke down one of Pimp C's verses. And you guys really should check that out, man. And I really am just trying to develop this page and make it like a home base for fellas, man. We can come and we can sit down and we can have real conversations about real things. Hopefully it will cause for you to become, see things a little bit differently, open your mind up, man. And I really want you brothers to get back into this scripture, this Holy Bible, because there's truth in it. And you don't want to just throw that away just because people are saying you should. But anyway, let's get back to conversation. Lot's wife, right? Do you guys know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Okay. Most people know the Sodom and Gomorrah, but do you really know, there's so much in there to unpack, and Lot's wife is actually a very interesting subject that I want to study. I have so many opinions. So here's the skinny of it, right? Who was Lot's wife? The Bible does not mention her name, but it does tell us that she had 2 daughters and that she and her family made a home in the city of Sodom. This is in Genesis 19:1 and 15. What did she do? She disobeyed a command of God. God had determined to destroy Sodom and the neighboring cities because of their gross sexual immorality. Out of love for righteous Lot and his family who lived in Sodom, God sent 2 angels to escort them to safety. Genesis 18:20. The angels told Lot's family to flee the area and to not look back. Those are key words. Remember that. Otherwise, they would die. And that's in Genesis 19 and 17. Genesis is the first book of the Bible, for you guys who hadn't, learned it. But anyway, Lot's wife began to look back and she became a pillar of salt. So she turned around and she became a pillar of salt, like a pillar salt. Imagine that. She just turned into a pillar of salt. Genesis 19 and 26. What can we learn from the wife of Lot? Her story highlights, this is what the biblical scholars say, right? Her story highlights the danger of loving material things to the point of disobeying God. Jesus cited her as a warning example. Remember, the wife of Lot. And he said that in Luke 17 and 32, right? So here's the thing, fellas. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, there's all kind of sexual deviancy going on. It was LGBT action. This is ancient LGBT action, right? This is, and just like the Bible says, we talking about what the word of God says. God, basically, there's a rule of law, and I talked about this in my book, okay? Immorality invites destruction. If you're immoral, what happens? You're out there having, sex with all these different women, you bound to catch a disease and you probably gonna get some babies. What's that gonna do to you? That's gonna destroy your health. It's gonna destroy your morale, and it's gonna destroy your pocketbook. It's gonna destroy your wallet, right? Because we know that's what happens if you're out there smoking and drinking and thugging it out and hanging out all night. You're probably gonna live a short life. You see what I mean? Immorality invites destruction. That's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But on some red pill stuff, right? Let's figure out what Lot's wife did. Basically, God said, look, go down there and find me at least one good man down there. And they found Lot and his family. Okay? Lot and his family, I think it was God. And you guys who are into the Bible more than I am. But the bottom line, I think he was asked to find, 10 good families, 100 good families. Couldn't find but one good man, and that was Lot and his wife, or Lot. And so Lot was tested. Some angels came to his house. And here's the cold blood. When the angels came to their house, they were disguised as humans, right? And it was so rampant out there. Lot, when the angels came to his house, some men from in the town saw Lot's guests coming in, the two angels, and they said, look, send them two out here to us. They wanted to treat them like women. They wanted to do all sorts of hanky-panky with the angels. This is how emboldened and immoral these men were. They saw these two men coming. Yes, send these men out here. We want to have Lot. This is how, and Lot said, look. No, these are my guests. I can't do my guests like that. You can have my daughters. In ancient times, it was important to treat your guests and people who came to visit with great respect and great dignity. If you look throughout history, many of the great gods, right? Look at the Greek history. Zeus says, oh yeah, he was the god of thunderbolts. No, he was the god of travelers. Zeus would always hide himself as a human being, and he would sometimes show up as a traveling man. Even in the ancient religion of the Norsemen, Odin, the All-Father, he would travel around, right, disguised as a traveler. And so it's very important in ancient culture, because remember, people would be walking and walking. You don't know who was out there. So what they would do is they had a great reverence for travelers. They would treat travelers with great respect. You see what I'm saying? So if you disrespected a traveler, somebody who's come to visit your home, that's you don't know who that is, right? And so Lot would rather have given his own daughters than disrespect these two angels who had come to his house, these two travelers. Either way, after they exposed themselves and said, hey, we're angels, they said, we destroying this whole town. These dudes want to sexually assault us, and we're men. These other men out here from this town of Sodom and Gomorrah want to sexually assault us. They don't know we angels. We coming back and we gonna burn this whole town to the ground. You and your wife and your family, we're gonna give you a pass because you're a good man. Y'all start walking and you don't look back. That's what it said. This is how rampant it was down there. This is Sodom and Gomorrah was like Hollywood on steroids, man. It was horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like, my God, this is what's going on. This is in your holy Bible. This is all in here, man. You guys really got to read this, right? That's the biggest drama of all time ever written. This Holy Bible right here. So anyway, they packed up their stuff. They start leaving. All of a sudden, wife's Lot, she start walking. My husband said, don't look back. My husband said, we gonna move. I don't know where we moving to some little country town somewhere. No more malls, no more Galleria, no more Dolce & Gabbana, no more of that. And she mad walking, right? You could just see her walking mad. Her two daughters ahead. Come on, mama, let's go. Don't look back. The angel said, don't look back. And she just keep walking, man. You could just see, I could just imagine Lot's wife just as hot as fish grease. Her head, I can't believe Lot got me. I could have stayed in Sodom and Gomorrah, and I could have been at the mall and doing what I normally do. I'm a mess my hair appointment. I'm a mess my nail appointment. So what is this telling you? So Lot's wife, all of a sudden, she looked back, bam, and she sees Sodom and Gomorrah burning, right? And she turns to a pillar of salt. Now, the biblical scholars say this is a warning and an example of those who put material things to the point of disobeying God. Who is your God? See, for Lot's wife, her God was those material things she was missing. You see what I'm saying? Those material things, that this get the bag culture, right? So you get one of these get the bag ladies, right? These ladies who I'm gonna change myself and I'm gonna be more feminine and I'm gonna get the bag, girl. They don't want you. They want to get the bag, right? This is what they're in it for, fellas. So when you hear a lady talking about the get the bag culture, this is Lot's wife waiting to happen. This is what she's into. All right, this is what she wants. This is the material things. And if you try to take her away from her, she's always gonna look back. And what is that? What does that pillar of salt mean? Because see, that's all. This is something they didn't hit. This is something those biblical scholars didn't look at. When you turn around and you looking in the past, you can't move forward. So symbolically speaking, she was frozen as a pillar of salt because she couldn't move forward. Her family couldn't move forward without her. She froze. And this is the same thing that happens in real life. You got a woman, you trying to move forward. Look, we got to do this. We got to make some moves. This is not safe. Matter of fact, there's some more opportunities over here. But no, I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to leave my comfort zone. My family lives here. Blah, 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 blah. You guys here, you got an uncooperative, hard-headed lady who doesn't want to do what's in the best interest of the family. She wants to do what's in the best interest of herself. The God that she prayed to was the bad. She was praying to get the bad culture. And women will let you know who are they down with. They will let you know. It's one thing for a woman to like nice things. It's a whole nother thing for a woman to be all consumed by this get the bag culture, by this materialism that is rampant out there. And what will happen? That type of woman, she will stop your progress. She didn't want to leave that big city. She liked that debauchery. She didn't want to leave it, family. And so this is something that you brothers have to, my man Rodney Harris said her heart was still in Sodom and Gomorrah. Her heart was still in Hollywood, fellas. Her heart was still in Los Angeles. It was still in Nueva York. It was still in Miami. You see what I'm saying? It was still stuck there. She couldn't leave that. Her heart was still in the strip club. You see what I'm saying? And you had the nerve to wife her up. Amen, amen. But anyway, man, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I'm enjoying it. If you like it, come on in. Let's have a conversation. We already have a guest here.
Hey, what's
Isaiah,
up,
man. How you doing, Isaiah? Can you unmute yourself?
Man, you appreciate what we're doing here. And make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions to keep this thing going. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sterling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get noticed of each and every one of our live videos. The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. If you want to make this voice louder and clearer, what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate it.
I'm on with Uncle D, and I want to make sure that I wish you all a happy St. Valentine's Day. Those of you fellas who have ladies, make sure you do something nice for your lady if you got a lady. If you don't have a lady, that's cool. Make sure you do something nice for yourself.
But in the meantime, we're going to continue forward with our series talking about women of the Bible. Now, I don't know how much further I can go with this series, but I think if you look over the past 3 Sundays, the past 2 Sundays, I hope I've given you guys an eye opener as to the information that's in the Bible that could help you. This is truly the testimony, or this is the life experiences, the human experiences of our ancestors from thousands of years ago. Now, the reason I think this is a very important thing for the Black American population is because largely these stories are about African people. This is about African people, people of African descent. And so because of that, what we need to do is we need to understand that women are not perfect. In our culture, the woman is considered godlike. Matter of fact, there are some groups of African Americans to this day that refer to Black American women as goddesses, God, and that's, to me, it's kind of weird, you know. And and it comes from the matriarchal indoctrination that we as young Black men have to go through. That we treat these women as if they're goddesses, as though they're queens. And in reality, they're just human beings, just like us. And so, what I try to get you guys to do is take women down off that pedestal. You don't need to worship money. You don't need to worship things, and you don't need to worship other people. There's only one God. And when I say people, that includes both men and women. And so you definitely don't need to worship anybody, because if they're the God, what does that make you? Who are you praying to? They can do no wrong. And so what you have is you walk through life with blinders on, and you're never able to see women for who they are. And that is human beings. And that's not healthy for any man. And so what I want to do is continue forward with this conversation. Now, I'm sure you all have realized I am not I'm not a preacher. I haven't gone to anybody's church to learn to preach. I don't hold Bible study. I don't do any of that. I'm simply a person who observes things. I read just like many of you do. And so when I read this Bible and I read stories about the 4 women that we're going to talk about today, Pharaoh's daughter, Cozbi, Bela, and Potiphar's wife, I see it for what it is. And so what I want you guys to do is just recognize that there's so much good information in the Holy Scripture. Whether you're a Christian or whatever ethnicity you are, this is truly the story of humanity. There's lessons in there that we can learn. So without any further ado, let's talk about Pharaoh's daughter. Now, when I refer to Pharaoh or Pharaoh's daughter, I'm referring to the young woman who found baby Moses on the river. Many of you don't necessarily know the story of the Bible. Maybe you do. Baby Moses was found amongst the thickets and the reeds on the banks of the Egyptian river. The Pharaoh at the time had decreed that all Hebrew children male children should be slaughtered. They should be killed, because he was given a prophecy that there would be a male child from the Hebrew tribe that would rise up and, cause him a lot of problems. So what we'll do is we'll just reach directly from the Wikipedia, where it says, in Judeo-Christianity. In the Judeo-Christianity narrative, Pharaoh's daughter first appears in the book of Exodus, in Exodus 2, 5, and 10. The passage describes her discovery of the Hebrew child Moses in the rushes of the Nile River, and her willful defiance of her father's order that all male Hebrew children be slain. Instead of taking the child whom she knows to be Hebrew and raising him as her son. So basically her dad has said, look, I want all these Hebrew children, this is going to overturn what we got going on here. All our slaves are going to leave. If this man is going to cause an uprising. And so he had a commandment throughout the land that you find all these male children born within this certain time, bam, they're done. His own daughter defied his order, and he was the Pharaoh. Now the Talmud, which is the Hebrew Bible, And the Midrash Vasha provides some additional backstory to the event, saying that she had visited the Nile that morning not to bathe for the purpose of hygiene, but for ritual purification, treating the river as if it were a mikveh. I don't know all these terms. I'm not going to go into it. It just says what it is. As she had grown tired of people's idolatrous ways, and that she first sought to nurse Moses herself, but he would not take her milk. And so she called for Hebrew wet nurse, who so happened to be Moses' biological mother, Jochebed. So the story goes this: she needed a Hebrew wet nurse because the child wouldn't take her milk. And so she ended up calling for a wet nurse, and guess who's available? His mother. So the mother ended up being, remember the mother set the baby free. She wanted to get rid of the child, right? Why? Because it was bringing too much heat, having this Hebrew child. I'm sure it disturbed her. We get that. And I don't want to go into that too deep. But the bottom line is the princess ended up calling for a Hebrew wet nurse. And the wet nurse ended up being Moses' mom, right? So the mother got a chance to raise, at least wet nurse her child. Rabbinic literature tells a significantly different take on events that day, portraying Pharaoh's daughter as having suffered from a skin disease, the pain of which only the cold waters of the Nile could relieve. The lesions healed when she found Moses. They're just trying to figure out, why she was down there bathing in the Nile in the first place. That's not the point of what we do. It also describes an encounter with an archangel Gabriel, who kills two of her handmaids for trying to dissuade her from rescuing Moses. This goes into the story. After Moses is weaned, Pharaoh's daughter gives him his name, purportedly taken from the word masa, Hebrew, to draw, because she drew him from the water. But some modern scholars disagree with the biblical etymology of his name, believing it to have been based on the Egyptian root, meaning son or born of, a popular element of Egyptian names, Ramses Thutmose, used in conjunction with the namesake deity. In her later years, Pharaoh's daughter devotes herself to Moses and to Yahweh. In other words, she converts to his religion, or converts to the Hebrew religion. She celebrates the first Passover Seder with Moses in the slave quarters. And for that, her firstborn is the only Egyptian to survive the final of the 10 plagues of Egypt, and leaves Egypt with him for the promised land. In the books of Chronicles 1:4-18, she is said to have married a member of the tribe of Judah, Mered, and to have had children with him. She is referred to as a Jewess, and indicating that she had accepted Yahweh as her God. Furthermore, the Jewish rabbis claim that the book of Proverbs 31:15, she prays in a woman of valor. Further, the Midrash teaches that because of her devotion to Yahweh and her adoption of Moses, she was one of those entered into heaven alive. So here's what I want you guys to understand. Basically, what I just did, I just explained to you what this daughter did. What did she do? She had a child that she found at the riverbank that she was supposed to turn in and be killed, because this child would grow up to become an enemy of the state. This was a different child from a different race, ethnicity, culture, religion, whatever. But she decided she wanted to opt. She decided she was not going to do what her father said. She was a disobedient girl. She chose sides with another race. And look, we're taking the morality out of the subject, because who was right and who was wrong? Hey, look, you know what? I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm pointing out the facts here. I'm sure if Pharaoh was asked, was his daughter right or wrong, he would say she was wrong. But of course, the people of, in Judeo-Christian history, she's written as a person that is vindicated and is honored, because she did what was right for them, but that wasn't right for her own culture and for the Egyptian culture. So looking from the eyes of her father, she was a disobedient daughter. Now, what else did she do? She basically kept Moses a secret this whole time. He was young. She educated him. She taught him all these different, he already had all these great teachers. She was basically teaching this boy who would become the enemy of the state you know, right under her father's nose, right under the Pharaoh's nose. That's basically what she was doing. And so if we look at this from the father's perspective, or really if we look at it objectively, this is another teaching for men to understand that women are not race loyal. And she wasn't even loyal to her own father's words or what was in the best interest of them, her country and her countrymen in the long run. This daughter of Pharaoh was driven by emotions and her strong attachment to the child of her enemy. Once vested, having risked the sacrifice, in other words, she would have got in trouble for that, right? She could herself have been punished, I'm sure, to whatever extent you could punish Pharaoh's daughter. Once she vested that, once she made that sacrifice, she was all in. And this is why a lot of the PUAs say this is that, and PUA stands for pickup artists, you know, that male psychology thing that they teach you on how to, you know, get women to like you, you know, desire you. They say they want a woman to do something like spend some of her own money, have her buy you a drink, have her pay for you to go get in the club or whatever. You want her to expend her resources because then she becomes attached to you and your well-being. Got it. So that said, once Pharaoh's daughter became attached to this child, you know, she was all in. She sacrificed much for him. And then what does she do but flow from that? She ended up turning and going with the other race. But this is another case of me showing you that women are not race loyal. There was another story, and the woman who helped, you know, with the fall of the walls of Jericho. We talked about that young lady a few weeks back. I think that was one of the first lessons. But this is just something. So when women say stuff like they're loyal to the race, you don't believe that. They haven't been. Not even in the Bible, it points these things out. So men are loyal to the race. You know, men, because we have to be, because it's our tribe, right? If you don't, you know, that's your butt. But what I want you guys to begin to understand is that you got to throw out these notions, okay, guys? You got to throw these notions of that you've been lied to. You got to stop believing foolishness. And I believe I want to say, I'm trying to figure out which one of that was Rahab. Okay, that was Rahab. That was another one. So now you got two examples at least of women who have not shown race loyalty. So don't believe that when they tell you that. I mean, there's examples of it in the Bible, and I'm sure this is not across the board, but that's something you should consider. This woman turned on her own father. She allowed her emotions to turn on her own father, and for the own best interest of her people. Her people were affected by Moses. Her people had to suffer the 10 plagues because of Moses. Her people did. Her own people suffered because of her own desires and wants and needs. Clearly. And she had no remorse. Matter of fact, when it was all over, what did she do? She went off with the enemy, right? So there's something to think about. Bilhah, okay? This is the second one we're talking about. So we talked about Pharaoh's daughter. This is a story, I'm gonna read this. Bilhah, which means unworried, is a woman mentioned in the book of Genesis. Describes her as a Laban's handmaid who was given to Rachel to be her handmaid on Rachel's marriage to Jacob. When Rachel failed to have children, when Rachel failed to have children, Rachel gave Bilhah to Jacob as a concubine to bear him children. Bilhah gave birth to two sons, whom Rachel claimed as her own and named Dan and Naphtali. This is in Genesis 35 and 22, expressly calls Bilhah Jacob's concubine, or Pilgish. So this is who this woman is, right? Reuben's adultery with Bilhah. Reuben was Israel's eldest son.
Okay, so let's paint a picture. You got a son, and your son is messing with your side chick. Okay, that's incest. You know, eldest son, Reuben was Jacob or Israel's eldest son with Leah. Genesis 35:22 says, and it came to pass while Israel dwelt in the land, in other words, Israel wasn't there, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard of it. As a result of this adultery, he lost the respect of his father, who he said, unstable as water, have not thou excellency, because thou wentst up into thy father's bed and then defilest it. He went up to my couch. Here's the thing, what you guys got to understand is that back in the day, man, the father represented God on earth. He could sell you, he could get rid of you. He was the Lord, and he was the Lord. You know, he was the Lord. So he was all powerful. And so by having your son commit adultery with your concubine, right? That is, you're defiling your father, you're disrespecting your father, you're defiling your father's house. You see, this is what you're doing. Such a rabbi, let me see, I'm gonna read some rabbi commenters interpreted the story differently, saying that Reuben's disruption of Bilhah and Jacob's bed was not sex with Bilhah. As long as Rachel was alive, say these commenters, Jacob kept his bed in her tent and visited the other wives and theirs. When Rachel died, Jacob moved in his bed until, this is what they're saying. But basically what's happening is, family, it's some incest, it's some defiling going on. And this is an important story because it says that when women are subject to incest, they become capable of great depravity and horrible acts because you take something away from them. I talked about this in another story that we addressed here, and this was a story of, and you know, I believe it was a story of, oh my God, let me see. I'm gonna get this last one. This was another story that we talked about. This was part 2 or part 3 that we referred to women of the Bible, and I brought this subject up, and I'm going to get the exact one for you guys because I want to make sure. Okay, this was the first one I referred to. In women of the Bible, I referred to Salome. Salome was also defiled in that way. Her mother had her conduct an incestuous relationship with her father-in-law, and it defiled her, and then she was able to convince her daughter to ask for the head of John the Baptist, who was a good man. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. So this is part of women's nature. If there's something like this, that's why it's important for you to protect your daughters, to protect the women of your family from incest and these other things, because even the Bible tells you when women are touched like that by people that are supposed to be their brothers or fathers or, you know, husbands, even the Bible tells you these women become capable of they're damaged and they become capable of great depravity. And so the story of Salome, and now you guys have the story of Bilhah, all right, to reference that. So this is not just something, there's reasons why we have these things in place. And so I want you men, as men, to begin to take that into consideration. This is why you have to protect your daughters. You have to protect the women in your family from this particular type of harm. It shouldn't be shoo, because I know in the Black community, oftentimes when these things happen, right, it's shoo under the rug. Nobody wants to talk about it. There's some statistics that say that there are a lot of Black women who are subject to molestations and incest. And this is something that has gone on for a while now, you know, in the Black community. That's something we should address. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you get the likes up and also contribute to the super chat and the Cash App. Appreciate what I'm doing here. These are not easy subjects to tackle. We got 58 people in the chat room. We got 35 likes. Get the likes up. Let's keep moving, but get the likes up, guys. I want to make sure you guys get this whole thing in, and we want to have time to talk about this before we finish. Now, The other one that I want to talk about, okay, her name is Cozbi, okay, Cozbi. And she's mentioned in Numbers 25 in the Hebrew Bible as the daughter of Zur, a prominent Midianite, a wife or concubine of the Israelite Zemiri, son of Zoltan. The Lord objected to the mixing of the Israelite people with the local Mennonites and the result of worshiping of Baal, and instructed Moses to slay all the Israelites who would worship Baal. Okay, now here's the thing. The word Cozbi or Cozbi, the name means deceiver, deception. Cozbi is derived from the word kazab, meaning deceiver. It is conceivable that this name may have been given from the observation of the proneness to falsehood and deceit in early childhood. Her influence among leaders was evil. She affected the moral and religious corruption of the Israelites. She cast spells. This temptress was slain, symbolically killing everything she gave birth to. All right, by Phinehas, grandson of Aaron. All right, so let's do a backstory here. Now the Lord told people, right? I don't want you guys mixing with those women over there, right? I don't want you messing around with these women. Leave these women alone. These are no good women. So this should dispel the myth that every woman is a good woman. Not all women are good women. Not all women are worth you guys marrying. Not all women you could just up and change and, you know, make a good woman out of a bad one. You can't do that. Some women should just be off limits. There are some women you should just leave alone. Don't be hard-headed and think you could just get any woman out the crowd just because she's got a cute face and a big butt and you can work with it. Not every woman is worthy of your time, fellas. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Not every woman is a woman you should be with. All right. Now, this Midianite woman, Cozbi, was the daughter of Zur, as I said, and the head of the house of Medea. Had a pure Hebrew name, meaning of which corresponding to her character. In other words, she was a deceiver. It was given to her by her parents. The name was like I said, it may have been expressed disappointed at birth. They expected a daughter. A son. They got a daughter. It's conceivable that the name, as I said, you know, because they kind of saw her as cunning and slick. Although a princess, her influence among leaders was evil. She was among those who affected the morale and the religious corruptions of the Israelites. In other words, this woman helped destroy the morale of the chosen people. Don't we know women like that in our community right now? Don't we know women who are helping destroy and morally corrupt our people? She cast a spell over Zimri, son of Salu, prince among the Semenites. Don't we know women who are casting spells over us from their incantations? You guys, name names. Don't we know women who are filled up with falsehoods? Huh? They have influence amongst the leaders. Name names, fellas. I'm not going to name them. You can name names. Don't we know women like that? See, the Lord forbid the men of his chosen people to marry women like that for a reason. Now, oddly enough, symbolically, this is the way she was killed. This temptress was slain by Phinehas, son of Eleazar and the grandson of Aaron. Do we know who Aaron was? Aaron was one of the two great conquerors that helped, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Aaron was one of the two great conquerors. He was a prophet, first of all. And let's read about Aaron. Aaron was a prophet and high priest and the elder brother of Moses in the Abrahamic religions. Knowledge of Aaron alone with his brother Moses comes exclusively from the religious texts, such as the Bible and the Quran. The Hebrew relates that unlike Moses, who grew up in the Egyptian royal court, Aaron and his elder sister Miriam remained with the kinsmen in the eastern borderland of Egypt. When Moses first confronted the Egyptian king about the Israelites, Aaron served as his brother's spokesperson, prophet to the Pharaoh. Part of the law, the Torah that Moses received from God to Sinai, granted Aaron a priesthood for himself, male descendants. Okay. Part of the law, Torah, that Moses received from God at the Sinai, granted Aaron the priesthood for himself and his male descendants, and he became the first high priest of the Israelites. Aaron died before the Israelites crossed the North Jordan River, and he was buried on the Mount Hor. Says he died, was buried in. Aaron is also mentioned in the New Testament of the Bible. So, you know, this man was an important man. This man is, Aaron plays a leading role in the several stories of the conflicts during Israel's wilderness. During the prolonged absence of Moses on the Mount Sinai, the people provoked Aaron to make a golden calf. The incident nearly caused God to destroy the Israelites. On the days of Aaron's consecration, his oldest son were burned up. So this was an important man, but one of the things, his sons were granted a certain priesthood. He was a prophet of God. And so what happened when this young woman, Cozbi, was killed? What did they do? Phinehas, son of Elzaphan and grandson of Aaron, it would seem as if a javelin thrust through her belly stayed the plague overtaking Israel for its whoredom and idolatry. What a sad day that was when thousands of Israelites perished. So basically, what he did was he in this woman's anatomy, and we got to look at this symbolically, the way Aaron's grandson, this prophet himself, Phinehas, killed this evil woman who was giving birth to this deceiver. The way he killed her was what? He pierced her through her abdomen where her womb would be. And what that is symbolic of the fact that he's murdering or he's killing all that she gave birth to, all the evil that she gave birth to. This prophet of God, this grandson of the prophet of God is destroying all that evil. So what does that mean by destroying? It means that, symbolically, that's what it means. So this is a story about, not accepting any woman as worthy of you, fellas. So in a society where we have men who put women up on pedestals, we have men who think all women are goddesses, all women are queens. You even though you were a crack fiend, mama, you still was a black queen. No, you're not. You got 4 kids by 4 different men, and you don't know who 3 of your baby daddies are, but you still referring to this woman as a goddess. No, she's not. Okay, she is what she is. She's among those who affected. This is who when we refer to Cozbi, although a princess, right? This woman was of royal blood. Her influence among leaders was evil. She was among those who affected the moral and religious corruption of the Israelites being God's chosen people. She cast a spell over Zimri, son of Salu, prince among the Simeonites. The Simeonites were, I believe, a group, one of the tribes of Israel. So more chosen people that this woman is corrupting. So you got to ask yourself, when you see a woman like that, casting spells like that, right? Is that a woman that you want to marry? Is that a woman you want to be with? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. You see what I mean? These are the questions. Not all women are good enough for you guys. My man Roman Arlene said, May, Cardi, City Girls. There you go. You see what I'm saying? This is something that you have to consider. Not all these women, you can't put all these women up on pedestals and call them goddesses and whatnot. You can't do that. You fooling yourself. And the Bible says this woman was so let's think of, she was popular, she was rich, but her influence over the leaders was evil. That's what, although a princess, in other words, let's say she was popular, she was rich, she was powerful, but her influence over the leaders was evil. She was among those who affected the morale and the the religious corruption of the Israelites. She cast spells. You see, this is who this woman was. You don't necessarily have to get a cauldron and put some rat feet and bat tails in. You can cast spells with your words, with your music, even with your actions. You casting spells, you're putting evil out there. And so you guys have to stop. You have to get rid of that matriarchal programming that tells you all women are this and all. And see, really what it is chauvinism too. Your chauvinism tells you, oh, I'm stronger than them, because this is the mixed signals you're getting from your brain. On one hand, you've been raised to be simps and to believe that women are goddesses and queens. And on the other hand, you're a man, and so you think you're better than this woman. So even if you see a woman who is clearly exhibiting horrible behavior, you as a chauvinist, as a man, think, oh, I can reach down there and bring and lift this woman up and change her from her evil ways, when you really can't. You see, so this is the quagmire that you, brother. Not only are you subject to the matriarchal programming, but your masculine programming is telling you that you're better than them. So you see the conflict that creates in your mind. It's just crazy. But you got to sort that out. But again, it took a man of God. It took one of the prophets of God, one of his descendants, to do away with the things that she was giving birth to, the evil she was giving birth to, with his lance to her abdomen. This is the story of the Bible. This is the story of Cozbi. And you can look at that at Numbers 25, 6 and 18. So what I'm telling you, fellas, man, there's a lot of great information in this Bible. I want you guys to remember that. Look, I need you guys to contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App. We got 57 people in here. All right, we got 51 likes. Get the likes up. I'm gonna give a shout out to everybody who contributed to the Super Chat so far. Thank you, Will Alfonso. Thank you, Balkanus. I appreciate you guys. As you see, we didn't have that long intro that we normally have, right? We didn't have that long intro. We got straight to the point. We're gonna try a new format, but I need you guys to show your appreciation. Get the likes up, get the contributions up. I'm gonna run some commercials. We'll be right back with Potiphar's wife, which is going to be really interesting.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So, hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you.
All right, we're back. And again, I want to welcome everybody on this Sunday afternoon. I mean, I'm not a preacher, but we definitely, the Bible says we're two or more gather and talk about my name, so we just want to make sure we speak on these things in a very respectful manner to all our Christian friends, all our people who are of the Jewish faith, everybody who, but I'm looking at this Bible. I'm looking at it as a text of understanding how the world works. I'm looking at this as a text of understanding the human experience based on what the ancients had to say. So, and this is all information that is relevant right now. The story of Pharaoh's daughter, Cozbi, Bilhah. These are all things that men have to deal with. And if it's written in the Bible, which is a book that's at least 2,000 years old, and stories are older than that, if it's written in there, right, then we know this is nothing new. This is nothing new under the sun. You see, what do we talk about? We talked about a disloyal daughter who is not loyal to her own race, who betrayed her father's word, helped bring up somebody who would eventually cause the downfall of her own people, her own kingdom. We know women like that. Bilhah, a woman who was subject to the horrible act of incest. And it shows, what happens when women do that. They're capable of great depravity once that happens. That's why you got to protect your daughters from that sort of thing. You got to protect them from that. You see, so and that's
That's another lesson. Who else? Cozbi, a deceiver, a woman who was a princess, a woman who was of great power and prestige in the community. And what did she do? She brought evil. She gave birth to evil, and that evil had to be slain by one of God's prophets, basically. That's it. What she had to be done, God's word had to personally kill what she was trying to do. You see? And that was a symbolism of her getting lanced in the belly by Phineas, the grandson of Aaron. So, you know, I want you guys to, if you will, take interest in what this Bible has to say, because there's some brilliant words in there, and I want you guys to read it for yourself. Don't just take anybody's word for it. But if you appreciate what I'm doing here, make sure you contribute to the super chat. Now, I'm going to put the link into to come on in here. I'm put the link in the chat room. Let's talk about this. And again, today we're talking about women of the Bible. This is part 3. Okay, so let's stay focused on that for the most part. And, you know, the link is in the chat room. So if you want to come talk, let's talk. But before we, Pharaoh's daughter, this is the other one. We talked about Pharaoh's daughter, actually. Potiphar's wife. This is a very interesting story to me. Okay. The scripture doesn't tell us her age, it doesn't tell us her physical description or her background. You know, only that she was married, she was Egyptian, and she was definitely a bad girl. Okay. In Pharaoh's court, and this is in Genesis 39:1 and 23. In Pharaoh's court, Potiphar served as a commander of the royal guard, basically. But behind his back, people called him the chief butcher. In other words, he was the Pharaoh's executioner. He wouldn't hesitate to lop off your head of any man who tried to, you know, deal with his woman, you can imagine. So Joseph, and you guys who know the story of Joseph, many of you don't, Joseph basically was sold into slavery by his brothers because they were jealous of him and the favor that his father had for him. So they sold him into slavery. He was a handsome young man. He was a handsome young Israelite man. And his brothers didn't like him. They sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites. And that's in Genesis 37:28, who in turn sold him to Potiphar. And no doubt he got a little profit for it. Joseph's brothers didn't treat him well, and his new owner considered Joseph property. But God had a bigger plan for Joseph. The Lord was with Joseph, so he prospered. Joseph was smart, he was intelligent, he was industrious. Joseph didn't prosper because he was good, but because God is good. That's basically what the Bible's saying, right? There's some stories in here, you know, you got to get the rhetoric out the way, but, and I'm not reading directly from the Bible, I'm just paraphrasing stuff. God chose to bless this young man no matter where he landed, in the ditch, by the side of the road, or in a wealthy Egyptian household. Even Potiphar noticed the Pharaoh's assassin, Pharaoh's executioner, noticed that the Lord gave Joseph success in everything he did. This is in Genesis 39:3. For Potiphar to give good God credit, Joseph must have honored God first, praising the Lord every chance he gets. God, you know, Joseph was a dedicated man to the Lord. The Holy Spirit is nudging me even okay, let me see. So Potiphar put Joseph in charge of everything he owned. He trusted the man. The man was good at what he did, inside and out, and the Lord blessed it all. The only thing Potiphar had to worry about was the food he ate. All right, so, you know, Joseph basically took over everything. Now, here's the thing. Potiphar's wife had an appetite of her own, okay? And she looked at this fine young man, Joseph, this fine young Israelite, and as he came along to and fro, he was a well-built, handsome young slave, which means he was property. He didn't have any rights. He can't do nothing. I'm the boss. You know, he was attractive. He was strong, he was young. And she took notice of Joseph, of according to Genesis 39:7. And she liked him, right? She was apparently a pretty woman, I would think, but you know, she wanted it, and she was bound to have him. So, you know, there was a story that I'm going to try to read this out of Wikipedia because I don't want to make it too. I don't want to distort what we're trying to do here. But she liked the man, and she wanted to sleep with him. See? She wanted to sleep with him, and so she tried to sleep with him. And what basically happened was, and I'm gonna read this out of Wikipedia, so you guys easy access. Let me see what happened. The Bible says, and he left. The Bible narrates at 39:5-20. Narrates her treatment of Joseph's slave to her husband Potiphar. And he left all that he had to Joseph's hand, and having him, he knew not aught save bread, which he did eat. Joseph was a beautiful form. And okay, so basically, let me get down to the nitty-gritty. And it came to pass as she spoke to Joseph day by day that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass on a certain day when he went into the house to do work, that there was none of the men of the house therein. In other words, she waited till everybody left. There's no men in the house, maybe some slave girls or something like that. And they knew better than to speak. And that she caught him by the garment. In other words, she grabbed him by his little back, right? And you grab him by his little clothes, right? And said, come on over here and lay down and get some of this, Joseph. And he left. Come on, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand. In other words, he rolled up out of there and the garment to her. So she left it in her hand and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she spoke unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant who thou brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried that he left his garment by me and fled out. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spoke unto him, saying, after this manner did the servant to me, that his wrath was kindled, and Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where king's prisoners were bound, and was there in prison. So basically what happened was she was trying to sleep with this young boy. He wasn't trying to holler. He was like, look, I got a good job. I work for your husband. I'm not playing with you. Okay, I'm about to try to live my best life, not messing with you. I don't like you like that, ma'am. Leave me alone. And so she waited till everybody was gone and grabbed him and tried to grab him and hold him and say, yeah, come on in here and get some of this good stuff, young man. I got something for you. Old cougar trying to get after you, right? And so he broke out of there, and she kept a piece of his garment. Then when the husband got home, lied and said that your servant tried to get some of this good stuff over here. And so this made Potiphar so mad, he locked him up, probably about to kill him and whatnot. And so that's Potiphar's wife. What a sinister woman. So what do we learn from her on this? This is an undisciplined, you know how they always say women never lie, believe her. This is what they were saying doing Me Too. So this is what I want y'all to think about. Potiphar's wife, what does she manifest? The undisciplined forces of womanhood in their most violent form. A picture of a woman spoiled. This was a rich woman, spoiled and beautiful, and a product of a luxurious, licentious civilization. Luxurious, licentious, anything goes, right? Luxurious. Mercedes-Benz, fur coats, Birkin bags, right? Sex with women, men, what they got something called pansexual. This is a licentious civilization. What a woman will do if she feels that you are beneath her socially and you belong to her, but she cannot have you, right? So don't we know women who think they're better than us? But you telling them, what? You can't have me. I'm not dealing with that. But she's been taught her whole life. Society has taught her that she's better than you.
And now you tell them, no, I'm going overseas. I'm going to deal with these women. We're going to start lying on you. We're going to start calling you all these different names because you don't want me or I can't have you like I want you. This entitled, ego-driven woman who will lie and allege the most important crime so that you will be punished or killed. Sexual assault, calling the police on. You see what I'm saying? Calling the police on for this, for that. We know women like that. That's what happens when you deal with women who are who are products of a licentious civilization, who are spoiled, who are made rotten because of what they have. This is what happens. Potiphar's wife is an example of what happens. They feel entitled. And don't we have a whole lot of entitled women in this society? I believe we do. I believe we do. I believe that this is a very good and interesting story that you guys should read, but that's just a quick summary of it. I want you guys, if you like what you heard, come on in. Let's talk about it. All right, come on in. Let's have this conversation. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. I'm not trying to give you a sanctioned summary of what the Bible says. I'm not reading it from the perspective of a religious leader. I'm reading it as a story in a book and trying to get everything I can out of it. If you want to join the conversation, join the conversation. What I'm not going to do is have a debate with any Bible thumpers about, you know, what the word, what the Lord's intention. Well, I'm reading this book for what it is. And basically what I get from this young woman, Potiphar, is this is the undisciplined forces of womanhood in the most violent form. A picture of a woman spoiled, rich, and beautiful, the product of a luxurious and licentious civilization. And this is an example of what a woman would do if she feels that you are beneath her socially and you belong to her, but she cannot have you. This is an entitled, ego-driven woman who will lie and allege the most important crimes so that you will be punished or killed. Don't we know women like that? Don't we know women like Pharaoh's daughter who aren't loyal? Don't we know women like Belial who've been sexually subjected to all sorts of horrible things, and then what do? They come out and they're capable, they're ruined. They're capable of a great depravity. Cozbi, don't we know women like that? Deceivers. They have a lot of influence. Right now, they have a lot of influence, but they spread evil. They influence our leaders to do evil. They're morally corrupt. The chosen people, don't we know that? This is what's in your holy Bible right here. This is what's in this book right here. This same old book that they're telling you to turn your back on. That's what's in there. So I ask you guys to just think about it. But look, go ahead and make sure if you want to come in, the link is in the chat room. Come in the chat room. Let's talk about it. The link is right there in the chat room. Love to hear from you guys. In the meantime, let's get the likes up. Let's get the contributions up. Go ahead and contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App. If you haven't contributed to the Cash App yet, I appreciate you do it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's important. Subscribe to the channel right now. In the meantime, we're going to kill a little time. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Dramatization. After a car wreck, you may have to fight with a highly trained insurance company rep whose job is to knock your damage claim down and out. It's a bad idea to enter the ring alone against a trained boxer, and it could be a bad idea to fight against a big insurance company by yourself. When the bell rings, attorney Dennis Sperling will be there to fight for your rights.
If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck, call me, attorney Dennis Sperling, at 866-529-2444.
All right, we are back. So look, fellas, if you like this conversation, if you like this, then maybe we'll try to do it again. So far, I've only planned on doing 3 of these. Let me see. Pan-African Ado said, let's not beat around the bush. Simping gets greasy, fat meat is greasy. Let me see what else. Marathon lied on him, put him in prison like these young ladies, these lovely ladies today. Yeah, that's exactly what Potiphar's wife did. I mean, isn't that something? Isn't that something? Because she can't have you the way she wants to have you. She'll lie on you and get you put in prison. She's spoiled by this licentious civilization. That's what happens when you do that to them. Marathon Man, I appreciate that comment.
Happy Valentine's Day, ladies. Matriarch narrators. Cozbi, right. Let me see who else we got. Some Zion Selassie, that's our book. Let me see. Carnival, Cannibal, Black Widow, entitled Narcissist Woman Who Spare No Black Man or Child. You guys, let me see who else. Yeah. You know, I want you guys to think about what we're saying here today. If you want to come in, come in. I'm not going to open it up. I'm not going to hold this open too much longer. Arms McGetty said the abortion practitioners in the Black community are just like Pharaoh's killing the firstborn Hebrew males. One of these reasons why Black women outnumber Black males. Well, I don't know about that, bro. But I mean, I appreciate the comment. I'd have to see some more stats on that. Pan-African said, like Trump being sold out by Rhino Park, fake news, great men are hated by many. That's very well true. You see what I mean? I think the most interesting story here, though, but not that all of them are interesting, but the idea that Pharaoh's daughter, right? This is, you reap the benefit of your father being the Pharaoh. And because of your own emotions and what you want to do, you're willing to turn on your own people, cause all these plagues to come down on your own people, just because you want to do what you want to do, because you see a baby and you want to keep this baby for yourself, even though this baby is going to grow up to undo everything that your father do. And then to boot, then you join in with your father's enemies, with your people's enemies. That lets you know right then and there that women are not race loyal. They're loyal to their own desires. They're loyal to what they want. For the most part, that's it. This is a Pharaoh's daughter. We talking about Pharaoh's daughter. We had a princess. You see what I mean? We had a high-ranking Egyptian. For these are women in power. You know, these men chose these women and they empowered them. So that's another thing. You want to be careful of the women that you empower. You want to make sure this woman is morally upright, because you empower her, and what does she do? She affects other people's lives. Look at Shaquille O'Neal's wife. What does she do? She was the one that came up with all those ratchet TV shows, Basketball Wives. She divorced him, took him for all his money, and then what does she do? She financed all these Basketball Wives shows and showed women in these horrible, like Black women especially, these lovely ladies doing horrible things on television. You know, before that, what do we have? We had, you know, we had Different World, we had Bill Cosby, we had Family Matters. And then when these so-called reality shows came out, Basketball Wives, Atlanta Housewives, it just really destroyed the image of the Black community over the past 20 years. It gave rise to the stripper culture, the get the bag culture. So Shaquille O'Neal's wife is the one that financed those shows early on. That was her bright idea. That's what you do when you empower a woman like Cozbi, you know? That's what you do. I'm not saying, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, can we be mad at it? Can we deal with it, or can we just learn from it? Let's just learn from it. I think that's a good idea, learn from it. And you men have to learn you need to learn how to screen these ladies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let me put this up here. Shawnee O'Neal Basketball Wives debuts 9th season, February 9th, 2021. Promised to be unlike any other, according to longtime cast member Shawnee O'Neal. The show would dive into Black Lives Matter movement, where she brought everyone together, right? So, okay, sounds good, but look at all the damage that's been done before. You see what I'm saying? I want you guys to think about that. You know, you guys need to definitely stop
putting women up on pedestals. Okay, they're human beings just like the rest of us. Okay, fellas? You guys, they're not queens, they're not goddesses. They are not, they're your mom, that includes your mama too. And you need to treat them like you treat anybody else and see them for who they are. That's my thing, you know, and that's what I want for you guys. But you guys, I'm gonna put the link up once again. And if you want to come in, come on in. And if you don't want to come in, don't come in. But let's go ahead and get it done now. Maybe I just want to enjoy your Sunday. Get the link up. I mean, get the Cash App up. For PayPal, Cash App are available. Contribute. I know it's Sunday, but I've been at this an hour. And you know, if you appreciate what I'm doing, man, show your appreciation by contributing. What I'm trying to do now is take a look at, so the executive producer, Shani O'Neal, you know, this is what she did with Shaquille O'Neal's divorce money, right? You don't believe me? Go to Wikipedia and look up basketball wives. Understand? This is what we're dealing with here. So she was empowered by Shaquille O'Neal, just like Potiphar's wife was empowered by Potiphar, just like Cozbi was empowered by those men who married those women, you know, who weren't, you know, true believers, who weren't chosen people. That's what we're dealing with. But anyway, she still kept his last name, huh? Yeah, she kept his last, Picasso Magno. Yeah, she kept his last name. That's where the money is, man. You think she want to go back to being regular old? Huh? You think she want to go back to being, you think she want to go back to being a nobody again? No, of course not. Who wants to do that? Why would she do that, man? So, yeah, of course she kept Shaquille O'Neal's. Of course, Shani kept Shaquille O'Neal's name. But that's not, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. I want to talk about, you know, what we're dealing with here. And this is the Holy Bible. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing, you know, you guys have to show your appreciation by getting the likes up, contributing to the Cash App, PayPal. But in the meantime, you guys, it doesn't seem like y'all too hot about talking today, man. So I'm gonna dip on up out of here, man. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. The link and the Cash App and the PayPal will always be there. But in the meantime, you know, this is Uncle D, and as I always said this time, man, oh, when it's time to go, it's time to go. So my man Carlton Banks said Cash App incoming. Phew, all right, man, I appreciate that, Carlton, man. But as I say, man, when it's time to go, it's time to go. This is Uncle D, and I'm out.